is that you've got to, the Chromecast and your computer have to be on the same internet network. So they're going to have to give you permission to be on the network, and there's a quick setup. But you can do it in a matter of seconds. But how cool is that if you sit at somebody's living room and they got a 65-inch TV, and you can do your listing presentation, go to the net, and do everything right on their TV. You know, we're taught to do it at the kitchen table, which is preferable, but I think some of these elements of technology actually trump that. So I'm going to cast my computer. You do it from Chrome, by the way, the browser. And I'm going to say cast my whole desktop to Training TV. Share. Should come up. Okay. All right. Perfect. Are we expecting anybody else?
Yeah, Aaron Smith and Janae Buchan. Yes, actually they're
okay.
Three. Yeah, Mia.
All right, well, we're going to get started here because we're on time. We'd like to get it going on time. So this is Sell Your Listings Ignite Power Session 6. And I have been told, my name's Bill Haas, by the way. I'm an agent here. Who's been here since the beginning. Come on in. Uh-oh, there's trouble.
Yeah, Cindy is up in her game. She's repeating.
I've been at this Keller Williams office since the beginning. I was one of the founding partners. Been in the business since 1993. Had my license since 1990. Worked for a local firm called Northside Realty, and then went to Remax when they were somebody. You know, Keller Williams came to town. And really, I was with the premier Remax office in the country, was right here in Dunwoody. It was a powerhouse. It was amazing. But it just goes to show you how, you know, things change. So keep your eye on the ball. Anyway, I work with my wife, Kathy, and we work actively with buyers and sellers. And I focus on the listings in our partnership, and she focuses on the buyers. At least that's the intent. So we do, you know, the one thing about Keller Williams is we have a lot of ability to kind of run our business the way we want. So we're going to follow the presentation here, but then we're going to deviate, and I'm going to share with you some of the things that I do and some of the tools that I use to sell my listings. So, and I'll give you show you some collateral material, and we'll talk about it. This is very interactive, so I'm looking for a lot of participation. Stacy said that you guys are the... Okay, sorry about that.
I just want to be respectful of Bill and his time.
What's that?
Nothing.
Terry
Nothing at all. Just slapping me on the hand for texting.
Oh.
In your class.
I don't know why Terry's up here. That's one of these pop-up things that just keeps coming up. Anyway, Stacy says that this is the best Ignite class she's ever seen.
Hey, thank you.
Yeah.
Telling you.
Like with the most potential as far as agents are concerned.
No,
you guys are going to rock.
We just cut up a lot.
So
no, they're mature, sharp people.
Yeah. So one of the things I'm going to ask you guys as a favor for me is during this teaching class, I'm trying to up my game. It's all about learning. I mean, you know, stuff I did when I started in 1993, you know, none of that really, you know, exists, the tools and whatnot. It was crazy. We had telephone books instead of the FMLS and with the listings in them. Anyway, I'm not a Facebook guy, but I've committed this year through some different trainings and a program I'm involved with to use social media more as a leverage tool to develop business. And I can share with you guys sometime in the future what that means. But part of that is trying to be real and use that social media platform to validate yourself to buyers and sellers. Everybody should have a business Facebook page. If they don't already, it's something you can do. It's free, and you can set it up. And you want to post on that. You want to post, I would, you know, focus most of your postings of business stuff on your business page and like seed some into your personal. But what's the biggest? What is Facebook? What is everybody looking for as far as posts these days? What type of medium?
Video.
Video. So that is so important, is to have videos, and it doesn't have to be like a polished video where you hire a producer and they come in and edit and cut it and whatnot. I mean, we're talking like even your little caddy in your car, you know, to do a 2-minute video. You know, I saw one yesterday about a guy an agent who explained closing costs. And there's all kinds of tools out there for if you have iPhones or Androids where you can do it right from your phone and you can, you know, edit and whatnot. So I'm going to ask Stacy, one of my videos that I want to put on my business page it's called an authority video that shows that you have experience and, you know, knowledge, etc. And the content is centered around that. And you guys can do this. I mean, anybody can teach a class. There's things that you guys know that probably us agents don't know coming from the private world. But that and another like concept would be like newspaper clips. If you ever get quoted by a newspaper, every now and again I'll have somebody ask me about that and I'll make my name in the paper. It doesn't happen very often. But anyway, the reason I'm sharing this with you is I'm going to have Stacy do a little video. I might cherry pick one of you guys to ask a question of my choice and have you answer it. But I'm trying to demonstrate in that video that I have authority, that I not only help people buy and sell houses, but I'm so good that I help teach people how to do it too. All right, enough of that. Getting back to the program. Let's get started here. First of all, I think, is there any questions from the previous Ignite session that you need some help answering? Nothing?
You said from the previous classes you want to answer?
If you had any question from the previous class, I'll try to answer it just because I may know the answer. If not, I'll say I don't know it.
I had a quick question. So we went over pricing the homes yesterday, and then we also went over the leasing presentation, the listing presentation a little bit before that. I got a little caught up yesterday when I was personalizing it with what I'm supposed to give them and what I'm supposed to keep.
Okay. I'm not seeing the materials that... Was it Ignite materials?
Well, they emailed us a presentation and told us we could customize it.
Yeah.
But they also said there was some stuff that we should never leave, and then the packet that they said we could actually drop off. I was trying to figure out what's exactly supposed to be in there versus what I'm supposed to bring.
I think
with me
there's
when
some
we do the
confusion
walk-in.
between the pre-listing packet that gets dropped off and your listing presentation information.
Yes,
Yeah.
AC, got it.
Yeah. So...
Which information is in what piece?
Because I was mixing it up.
As far as just specific content, I would refer you to get with Stacy and talk about that. But in general, having a robust pre-listing package, and there's a variety of sources, you know, from Ignite. There's also other pre-listing packages just from Keller Williams, other agents, and there will continue to be. I mean, you guys are like involved with this company at probably the most exciting time. I don't know how much you've been told, but there is serious technology coming down the pike that is designed to help you with your clients and to beat out the competition. And this company is one of the things that makes it so much different than previous companies that I worked with is for a variety of reasons. One being the profit sharing. It's a very sharing company. When I was at RE/MAX, if you had something good, you tended to lock your doors and not share it. It was like you're coming from a position of scarcity. At Keller Williams here, we're coming from a position of abundance. And whether it's people in this office or all over the country, there's all kinds of materials that you can access, and we'll be able to access even more of them in the future to make you a better agent. So just the pre-listing package, it does the heavy lifting. This is stuff you've already heard before. I like it because it can do the fluff stuff where it talks about you, so you don't have to go in there and make it where you're talking about yourself. You can let those materials do that. As far as the different elements to have for that versus the listing presentation, there's really no right or wrong, and I would get with Stacy to customize yours so it fits your personality per se.
Gotcha.
Okay. Any other questions?
So I got kind of a real life example or situation. So there are going to be times when, especially for us being new in the industry, where we don't have a lot of, I guess, news to talk about or successes, right?
Right.
So, and I've tapped into like Diane and Stacy. I'm looking for, I had to develop like a 1-page, or I actually made it into 3 pages, but like why Keller Williams, why the Rawls Group, and why myself, right?
Right.
Because in this situation, they had been already down the line in terms of talking to realtors. And
right.
They have a friend that's a realtor. So I kind of like talked the guy into giving me an opportunity just to not so much make a pitch, but maybe at least get my foot in the door to maybe make a listing presentation, right?
Right.
So I was trying to develop a 1-pager that says, here are all the reasons that that if you were to say why Keller Williams, what are the 5 most impactful bullet points that we could basically communicate to a client, prospective client, about why you want to use Keller Williams.
Right.
Number 2, why the Rawls Group, right? And then thirdly, we'd have to customize why us specifically.
Right. So Bill,
so
you got it, Bill.
I went out and I've kind of like pulled like the the talking points that we have for Keller Williams. That's pretty easy. There really wasn't a lot for Rawls Group. I used the presentation that you went through and had Diane and I kind of wordsmith some of the points. But if there were like 2 things that you want to communicate to somebody about why the Rawls Group here in Atlanta, what would those 2 points be?
That's a good question, and the format, I think you got the right idea. You start, whether you go backwards or forwards, but you, our office, the Rawls Group, Keller Williams International, and the tools. It's a constant changing thing too. I mean, Diane can remember. We were, you guys probably, we don't talk about it anymore, but we were what were we recognized for year after year? Best places to work in Atlanta by the Business Chronicle, competing against, like, we beat out Hilton Hotels, large company.
But if you're talking to a seller, guys selling out, they want to know how fast you're going to sell it.
Right.
Are you going to get it for the most amount of money? Those type things, right? I
mean, I think is what you need to. And all that stuff is important, and you just got to kind of hunt and dig for it. There is no set presentation. I mean, there's things in the Chuck Carr stats that you can potentially use, but you almost got to, especially your own stuff, you got to custom develop this stuff. And I'm not aware of a particular template that you can plug it into, and I think we need to do a better job of working on it. In fact, I've asked Diane and Stacy I showed them an infographics example that I had. It was more about market statistics and less about the company, but something like that would be helpful to have. I don't have the ability to graphic design to put something like that together. But the most important takeaway I'm going to tell you is that a lot of people feel like they need this crutch, they need this information to dump on a seller or a buyer. And I found that the majority of the times, if you are asking questions, if you're sitting down and consulting with these people before you take them out and start showing them houses, when you go over to look at their house, you're sitting down and having a conversation, and you're asking questions to them about their situation, their family, themselves. In many cases, stuff like this isn't even necessary. You'd be surprised, I mean, I got into the business, and I was kind of fearful of the same thing. Like, what am I, I'm brand new. How can I compete against all these people? One of the guys at the Atlanta board that talked about this high, track, the high jump, where you run and you jump over the bar. Well, they always used to run and jump like up in the air. And then something happened, like, this is decades ago, but there was one guy, does anybody know his name?
Fosbury.
That's it, the Fosbury flop. And he said, well, what if I do it a little different? What if I come in here, when I run in, and I instead of trying to jump over with my feet, I go over it backwards. And the point of the story was, he was just bringing a new element into it, and he was brand new, competing against all these world records and top jumpers, and he just brought a different element into it, and he succeeded. And I always remember that story because it was taught to me when I was a brand new agent. So just by taking that consultative approach and asking questions, you'd be amazed at how little your prospective buyers and sellers are concerned about how long you've been in the business. In many cases, it isn't even on their radar. We think it is, but it really isn't. It's really an amazing thing. And what's the one phrase, fake it till you
make it.
Yeah, that's kind of what you're doing here, and you play off the experience of the office. But I think you can find what you're looking for, those key elements. If you search around and you talk to Diane, you maybe point in some resources. Stacy, they're out there in different places.
Right.
It's a matter of assembling them, and then it's a matter of keeping it current because it constantly changes too. Right?
So if I may, and stuff, I've already run into that on 2 of my listings and such, and so basically this is how I answer. I said, listen, first and foremost and stuff, I've interviewed less than 6 or 7 different brokerages until I selected this one. I said the cooperative support and the infrastructure of the office is basically, second to none. I said the strategic location of the office and stuff is also paramount and important because it's got the pulse of the entire metropolitan Atlanta territory.
Oh, I like that.
And so, my listings are up in the Gwinnett County territory, and I let them know that I stepped out of that, environment and stuff to get to the proper location. So, and then I never let anybody talk to me about my newness in reference to my agency. That's not relevant in any way. I don't let that be a topic. Because when people ask you about that, you say I'm a realtor and I'm going through the proper educational process and stuff, and I'm going to be infinitely better than anybody in this market because I'm getting trained the right way. So I've already run into that, but it doesn't, as Bill said, it doesn't become a factor with those types of answers.
Yeah.
And I find it just in sales in general, right? Like to his point, people are more interested in us asking questions, and you making that conversation and turning it and making it about them straight from the bat typically tells them that you know your stuff, right? Because you're asking those questions. So I haven't had I just changed carpets in the flip that I'm doing, and this sales guy came there and started talking to me about the products. Dude, I know what I want. Just ask me, questions about stuff that I want. I don't need to know that it's fiber, whatever chemical you use to make the carpet. So I don't think those facts matter so much because you're just taking up my time telling me facts about the way that the product is delivered or whatever. I want to know how soon you can put it in, how much it's gonna cost me. Facts so I would have appreciated if you asked me those questions, but
Right.
he didn't. He was just spewing all the brochure stuff.
But I think what you're asking for is legitimate and valid, and you need to build that library of information, and that is what you would want to put in a pre-listing package, and that does the heavy lifting. Because the last thing, when I first got in the business, it was all about, it was amazing. There was dozens, if not hundreds, of real estate agents that were number one in Atlanta at one given time. Everybody's number one, and that was kind of the basis of when I got in the business of when you went to talk, especially to a seller, was to sit there and sell yourself and just spew all this information.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for me personally, I have a customized, and I'm in the middle of, I got to change it up as it's stale, it's a few years old, but I have a pre-listing package that I use. And I have the information about us and Keller Williams and that in there, and I need to make it more robust and more current. But I let that do the heavy lifting. So when I go to meet with the people, I ask them if they've done it. I may flip through it, but I don't really talk about myself. It's not even necessary. It's really about them. And if you focus on that, you're going to be much more successful. So we need to move on to be able to cover everything today. So we're going to do a couple things. We're going to follow the format. Probably going to ask you guys we're going to do 2 things different. And Diane, you're not supposed to hear this, but we're not going to watch the videos. All these Ignite, sometimes we'll reference a video or 2. Well, there's 2 in this module. I'm going to ask you guys to watch those on your own so that we can spend more time in class and not sitting watching videos. Okay? The other thing I'm not going to do, if you all promise me you will do it after this class, is to do the in-class calling, the 20 minutes of making phone calls.
Deal.
Is everybody okay with that? You're going to do it, though?
We promise, Bill.
Put up your, like Boy Scouts honor and say, I promise to make the calls.
I like thinking.
Thank you. All right.
Worth the blood.
Is there such thing as Boy Scouts?
That's true. Okay. The next item is the daily 10-4. We're going to look back at your tasks and objectives. How's everybody doing on that? You know, we're talking about adding contacts to your database, connections, notes, homes previewed.
So I met with Terry yesterday and we talked about that. So, you know, this is a costly business and we got 2 boxes of free cards.
Right.
So I want to utilize them in a way that's beneficial, but I'm also trying to figure out what's a strategic way because we have cell phones.
Right.
So I've been giving like someone who I can have a conversation with, like maybe a warm person.
Yeah.
2, and I'm like, keep one passing on, but then I'm like,
2 what?
business cards.
Okay.
So I'm like, keep one passing on, but then I'm like, what's your number? Because we're supposed to get their information.
Exactly.
So if they do that, then take one. So we were trying to come up with a strategic way in our 30-minute session of how to get their information, because people like you, but they don't know. I don't know if they like me enough to give me their number at the grocery store and the checkout line.
Yeah.
I've been trying it, and
you're talking about, you know, the have not met people.
right, because we're supposed to be building at least 10 a day.
Yeah.
And she did tell me to make sure, and Miss Joanne yesterday, you know, people do want to help you, so tell them,
Right.
I know you're not looking, but do you know someone?
Right.
But that's been a little slow.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I'm going to try the cold market.
Right.
If you'll talk to me in the grocery store, if you'll talk to me in the gas station, if we're standing in line somewhere. But exactly how do we go about getting those 10 a day?
Well, you're putting 10 contacts in your database. I would challenge you, most of you will, like, either mentally or through something that happens during the course of the day, somebody will come up on your radar. It's like, oh yeah, I know them. I forgot about them. I ought to put them in my database. The Mets are going to be so much easier to deal with now. And they're going to yield the highest return on your investment of time and resources. So, you know, this bold where Brad's in today, I did it a few years ago. You're supposed to make 100 contacts a week. We had some people out going to the Walmart shopping center, like handing out. I mean, we want you to do things that are productive and not just to do it. I'd rather have you focus on stuff that's going to have a higher return on investment. Business cards. I mean, I remember.
They're only a portion of it.
Business cards. You can opt. You don't even need business cards technically.
That's okay. So you get it, Bill. That's what I was trying to say.
You want to be a business card getter, not a giver.
So do you use digital cards?
Agreed.
Well, it's a matter of getting their information.
Yeah.
And you can give them your digital card, but the point is that you got to get their information. If you're just giving somebody yours via a V card or a printed business card, the chances of that connection having any type of duration goes way down.
Yeah, I mean, so I do things a little bit differently, and I've been in contracting for many years as
Right.
a, entrepreneur. And so what I try and do is I try and touch a book of businesses is what I try and touch. So when I started my business in contracting, I went out and I met insurance agents and I gave them some packages of information.
Right.
And so it helped to create those alliances with those individuals, and like they're texting me.
And you're
right now.
showing how you could add value to
Yes,
their...
sir, and so there's alliances that happen, and so when the last time we did the 15 minutes worth of phone calls, I called a real estate attorney that I know, I called an insurance agent that I just met, and I called a commercial lender.
Right.
And so we're exchanging books of businesses and referral systems that way, and you're touching your 100 or more that way. And so, to me, if you guys can think about how you can in a vascular way connect with people who are germane in the real estate industry, they may very well refer you and get, you can get a wealth of leads that way.
But it can be, anybody can be a residential buyer seller, and that's one strategy, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong, that's great. But if you don't have that mindset or energy to figure out those allied industries, like mortgage lenders, yeah, they're good because they know people that are buying, but oftentimes they have relationships that they're already committed to, that they have loyalty to a real estate agent, so you're at the bottom of the list. It's a matter of just connecting with people and sharing it with them. So I would make, in your, whether you do it on your smartphone or you keep a notebook, but you're going to come across people that you know, or when you talk to people you do know that they know that you could add. Those are so much more powerful than somebody at the grocery store. I mean, in this day and age, you can still do that, but if you set your whole business up to focus on those types of meetings and people, I mean, people are very guarded. They think you're a stalker or something.
Right.
I mean, so you got to have something to break the ice. I would say focus more on your Mets and leverage the Mets to introduce you or think of people that they would know where they can give you that segue. It's going to be so much more powerful than just starting from scratch.
Just keep calling them back. Hey, everybody, hey, don't forget about me.
Now, if you come across, there's literally dozens of networking events. There's all kinds of stuff. There's that, what did Mia Hanna do? That business lunch thing where you join a business networking group. That's like on a high level, but there's, you could go in and say, look, if you live in Brookhaven, I am going to put together a networking group of small business owners. You get an insurance agent, you get a couple different people, and we want to meet once a month just to share leads and roundtable, and you create your own little networking group. And then all of a sudden they're in your database, and those people are looking to grow their businesses too, so everybody's trying to help each other, and that's how you build it. So, Anna.
Yeah, I would say the other thing, so I don't know if you guys did, but I did that DISC thing when I first signed on, and I'm going to go over that with Carrie, but one of the things that they kind of gave me as a highlight is I'm not one that's going to pick up the phone and call everyone in mind. That's not how I roll.
You're not a high I.
No, I don't. I'm not comfortable. It's not a good, I get very high anxiety about doing that. I know how the people that I know have very crazy schedules, and everyone does, so I'm not going to be one that's going to, interrupt.
Yeah.
Because I will call in their groove, and then they'll be really mad. So what I'm doing, though, is I'm taking my Mets and putting them into categories, and my categories are close families and friends, and what they're going to get is they're going to get a postcard that has my picture that says, hey, I've started, this is my company, I'm so excited, celebrate with me. Just to say, hey, I've done this. My grandmother can put it on her refrigerator, my aunts can put it, they can be like, look what my cousin did or my niece did, I'm so excited. And it gets your name out there, they know who to call if they have a question or need something. Hey, I'm a resource, call me if you need something. Next set is what I'm calling my big influencer, and it's like a minister of a huge mega church here in Atlanta, a lady that's a retired minister that runs a ton of nonprofits here in Atlanta, and they're going to get a handwritten letter on Keller head that will have 15 business cards. Take one, keep the other 14 to give out as you see needs and meet people. So I'm hitting those people, but I'm hitting them in a way that I'm comfortable with, but I'm also getting my name out there, and it's catered to that group. So I also have what I call my newlyweds and friends of Atlanta, where all my friends that are moving and they're going to get a much more direct, where it's here's what I can do, we can meet, we can talk about marketing, let's find a time, and they're going to get a couple business cards that are slightly different, but they're going to kind of get an overview of their market. Hey, I know you guys are looking in this area. Here's what they're going to get. Call me if you want to talk or have any questions. And that's a way to kind of direct where you're getting a lot of touches, but you're doing it in a way that, because to me, I can't. I'm not going to send one more email. I'm not going to call people. I'm not going to text somebody one more time. But that's the way that and our generation, our younger generation, in order to, letters don't happen anymore. It's getting handwritten things. They're going to be like, yeah, I had a piece of mail. I don't never get mail. That's
right.
And so,
yeah, with a handwritten envelope.
Right.
That's so huge. None of your competition is doing that. And when you do, and if you come to any of the team meetings and listen to Brad, we're doing all this, what we call lead generation, to try to do what? What would be the next step of all these efforts?
meet with them.
Exactly, to have a one-on-one. And when you do the one-on-one, you're gonna not only talk about you, but you're gonna talk about what they're doing and how can I help you. And it might be, owner of a painting company. It's like, okay, well,
That's an amen.
how can we, we've got this vendor program at our Keller Williams office. I don't have the details. There may be a cost to it, but I can look into it and get you some details. It may be something that could grow your business. Would you like me to do that? Sure. So you're offering things of value. And whenever you can do that, people are going to get engaged and they're going to want to help you. Like on your top people, you may or may not want to do this, but part of my Christian faith is to give back, our family, Kathy and I. So, we donate and tithe. But when you talk to those upper level ministers, say, I'm committed, I'm so serious about this business, and I'm serious about giving back too. So please know that any referrals, I promise to take great care of them, but I, of course, will be tithing a portion of the income that I generate from it back to you. That's the way of helping them.
One of the other big ideas is I've committed that I'm going to do an outreach program once a week, like whether I go to a food kitchen or serve a meal somewhere or do a habitat, where there you're going to get have not met.
Right.
But that way you're building a relationship, you're laughing because neither one of you can nail a thing in, you know what I mean? You get relationships that way, but you're also getting your name out there, and that's something that I'm very passionate about. But that's a way that I can go and put myself out there in a comfortable, I will take over a work site. Like, I love talking to people, it's great, I can do it.
You just don't want to impose, but once you make that connection, I can see your eye comes out like crazy.
Yeah.
You just don't want to be that perceived burden, and you don't have to be.
Correct.
I mean, there's so many different ways.
And that's what Terry's really good, can be like, hey, Terry, I'm not doing this, but let's find ways through my disc that I can go and be, because once I get your attention, I'm a very personal, I'm just not going to be the one to instigate it in any way that could come off aggressive.
Right.
So I'm trying to find ways, and that's another good...
Here's a great way, and that's awesome. Thank you so much. Everybody is always curious about what their home is worth. People that either have condos, townhomes, or houses. Now you've got access to this awesome database, this FMLS. And I think there's going to be new tools within Keller Williams that are even going to trump what I'm going to share with you. And it's on the list that I handed out, but we'll talk about it right now. But it's your matrix, where you go in and search properties. There's a portal feature where you can do something called auto emails, and you can set a criteria. It used to be just actives. It's really designed for buyers, is what the intent is. But I leverage that, and I use that not only for people I'm currently working with, but for just people in my sphere of influence that live locally that I may want to try to work with. I just set one up yesterday, and basically you drill in and I pick their neighborhood, and there's some work. You can go to the FMLS class. I'll even teach you more about it. But it's a branded email, and once you have it set up, whether it's a brand new listing or a listing that went from active to under contract, or whether it's under contract and goes to sold, if it's in that criteria, when those status changes occur, they're going to get an automatic email from you saying this. So think about it. You get, Sally Jones, she's busy with the kids. She pulls out of her driveway. She's bringing toddler to preschool and got to go by to a doctor's appointment. And she drives by a house 3 doors down, and there's all of a sudden a for sale sign. She's like, I didn't even know these people were moving. I know them. It's like, wow. She gets to the office after she drops off the kids and goes to the doctor and checks her email, and there's an email from you, neighborhood update on Redfield. And there's that house that she just drove by. She doesn't know that was automated. She may just think that you just sent it to her, because you can customize all the text. Mm-hmm. And that's just another way to touch people with really pertinent, useful information that they want. It is not just like you giving them cooking recipes or telling them how good you are, that you're just new in the business and I need you to send me your buyer and seller leads. People, give them information that they can use. But the daily 10-4, I can tell you that the notes are really important. And homes previewed is another thing. Here's an easy way to preview homes. Now with showing time, it's gotten a little more complicated. It used to be like when you saw like an active vacant listing, you could just go at your own will. Now a lot of agents, like I do when I have an active listing, I tell them still to make a appointment in showing time, because I'd like to know, to keep track of that. But most of the vacant listings are set up on autoresponders in that system, where you get an automatic immediate acknowledgement to go by. But you can do a search for the area you live in, or if you live here, here's your house, here's our office, focus on this area in between, or whatever area you want to target, and do a save search for vacant properties. And when they come up, or when you have a free moment, you want to go preview, you can do whatever homes you want, but those ones are really easy to get in and out of. And I've even done that, and I've even set up in that Matrix portal. It's a little bit more work, and I'm not sure the return on investment is good, but one of the things that's interesting that we don't do enough of is following listings from when it's currently offered for sale, new listing active, to sold, and to see, what occurred. And sometimes there'll be opportunities where they expire, where you could get involved and call it as an expired listing. But there's ways to track that, set yourself up like as your own customer with a different email. So on that one address, if there's a status change, it'll send you a notice to your email, more like a consumer, and you can follow that listing from beginning to end. And to me, I always find it fascinating to see a property. Sometimes it gets withdrawn and relisted, or expired, multiple listing agents, and then, motivated seller, they finally do the right things to have it sold. But it just helps you build that encyclopedia of knowledge about properties when you actually watch a specific house in the area that you're targeting go from active to sold, and to understand the days on market and price reductions. All those things like feed your subconscious and give you that much more authority and knowledge when you're talking to prospective buyers and sellers.
So that's a genius thing that you just mentioned and stuff, your alternate email. So like when you email yourself and stuff, are you emailing yourself not just that information, but are you emailing yourself expires because you're approaching those people?
See, I don't call on expires per se. That's not one of my targets. I'm more of a sphere of influence guy. But you could do that. And you can create hot sheets too in FMLS. There's a variety of tools in there that can accomplish this particular task. I would say every month I would go through that FMLS course list and try to pick out some things you think are interesting, because there's a ton of technology at your fingertips. Some of it's for CE, which you may need, after your first year you do your post-license course, but you might as well plug in and start doing that. So. Okay, we're going to do an affirming message here. Say out loud, loud and proud, my business is growing abundantly.
My business is growing abundantly.
One more time with a little more energy.
My business is growing abundantly.
Okay. Yes, it is, class. I'm proud of everyone.
All right, I'm going to he's going to give you the bye here on the 20 minutes of calling. But I can tell you those handwritten notes will completely differentiate you from people, and they're going to, when you call somebody after you've sent them a handwritten note, a few days later, they're going to probably answer the phone in a little bit more warmer tone than if you hadn't done it.
What I got to answer and say thank you to begin with.
Yeah. So, and who's at the team meeting on this Tuesday? I know a lot of you guys have conflicts, but one of the things Brad said is he keeps a little notebook, and throughout the course of the day, he comes across little bits of pieces of information, whether it's something he sees on the internet, or something that somebody tells him, or a conversation with somebody, but he's always coming up with things that have bearing to somebody that he knows. Like he made the example, Kevin Probst, who poked his head in here, he's a senior agent here. He's really into officiating. He manages, or had managed, all the referees for basketball for high school. And Brad came across something about basketball umpiring, and he's like, okay, I need to save that link and send it to Kevin, or print something out and scan it and send it to him. But if you keep a tally during the day of the little, we're bombarded with so much information, and so many of that is pertinent to other people you know. And any way you can, whether it's a foodie, you come across something that's food oriented, you could share, etc. That gives you a reason to contact them where you're not being the burden. You're contacting them for a reason. There's really there's so many ways where you don't have to feel like you're just calling people to bother them. All right. So far you have worked hard to find a business and get appointments. Once you have landed the appointment, you demonstrated to the seller your value as their listing agent, and they signed the listing agreement with you.
Why do you do this?
So, just one thing, and this is a previous class, but my opinion is on these listing agreements, even if the seller's house is not ready, there's a lot of work that needs to be done, and or it's early, like they're really not going to be listing until April. Have your listing paperwork ready so you can show it to them and explain it to them. And you can put in, and there's different schools of thought whether this is legitimate or whatnot, but you're supposed to put your listing into the FMLS a certain amount of days after you execute it. But I'll tell you what I do. Are we on video here? Is this going to be like, is this like live on the... Okay.
Please hold, Diane. No.
All right.
You don't want to be recorded.
Yeah, I don't really care. It's not. This isn't. We're not doing anything that is nefarious or breaking the laws. But I'll get a seller to sign a listing agreement with the listing date. We can estimate it at. All right, estimated to be, and even if you don't know the price, to be determined.
Right.
And I put it in my client file. Give them a copy, but what's happened there? They've signed off on an agreement. Mentally, they've taken action to commit to you versus waiting until everything's perfect. Then, as things evolve, and you can update that listing agreement with the specific information as you get closer and have them re-sign it, and you just destroy the original one. But from my perspective, there's significant value in having them sign that paperwork. In many ways, they feel like they're committed to you. There may be, it happens all the time. All of a sudden, some friend out of left field has this agent who they love. You got to talk to her. And I'm talking about the seller that you're working with. Well, there's going to be some people that just mentally they feel like, okay, I've already committed to working with somebody else because they've, agreed on paperwork. Right. So the point is that get that paperwork signed early.
That's an amen. I've done that twice.
Yeah. And I don't think you're doing anything wrong.
Not at all.
The reality is sellers can get out of listing agreements. There are certain things that they can't do if specific actions occur where you're due a commission, but technically they can get out of a listing agreement. So
right, and I put the coming soon sign out there and everything.
All right. We're going on here to staging. We've done that. Lead generate, handwritten notes, get your head in the game. Market and service your listings. So these are the areas we're going to talk about. And then at the end, I'm going to go through my list. But stage the property, market the listing, and communicate with sellers. These are the three components of having a listing and getting it sold.
So Bill, just a question for you. So you had mentioned, there's work involved in getting the listing ready to sell. So you get the listing, or maybe you have a consultation with a prospective seller, and there's work that needs to be done on their property. So what are the things that you look for, and how do you coach, say for example, the seller to make those updates or changes prior to getting it onto the market?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it's not a black and white answer. There's really it's really on a house by house, case by case situation. probably one of the biggest challenges I feel like we face, especially in this Dunwoody market, is we'll roll into some people's houses that want to sell, and they haven't done anything for like
Ever.
25, 30 years. And, you know, the conventional wisdom is it has to be updated and staged, the kitchen needs to have granite and stainless. Well, a lot of sellers, number one, they don't have the effort, even if they had the financial resources to accomplish that, or the time involved. And, you know, I see it over and over again where a seller, I've seen it on houses that like expired listings, a variety of different situations, but they'll go in and they'll, you know, some of these sellers, God bless them, they'll spend like months prepping it, but the house was so far in the past that the stuff that they did helped a lot, but
Wasn't relevant.
well, it is relevant, but more so in some cases it isn't. Well, you've got, so like I've done it before, so I've had a seller, like maybe they didn't follow my instructions and they decided to paint a bunch of stuff and do a couple things. And they did it, you know, from their perspective, they busted it, they really worked hard. And then I walk through, and sometimes I'll bring other agents in to get a price opinion too. And there'll be an acknowledgement all these things that they did are nice, but the mental focus is in all these other things that still need to be done. And these people, they're done. They're not going to do anything else. They're spent. So where do you go? I mean, some of these houses, you got to make a decision. You know, in some cases, you know, the return on investment isn't there, and it's really by a case by case. You know, if I had $1 for every time somebody asked me, well, if I do this, how much money can I get?
Yeah.
And there's so many variables involved on different things you can do. It really, you know, you can take a stab at a price, but in my opinion, after doing this for, you know, over 20 years, it's really hard to say, okay, well, adding granite's going to add $12,000, you know, to what you're going to net on this house. And the granite only costs $8,000, so you're going to make $4,000. It just is not that simple, you know. And a lot of it has to do with how quick it's going to help the house help the house sell, you know.
Right.
So it is a challenge. Who asked that question?
Bob?
You did.
Yeah.
Bob did. So, you know, we employ stagers. You know, there's an agent who I work with at a different Keller Williams office that likes one particular stager. And I've got, you know, that list that I sent out to you guys, this here, I'm going to send it to Stacy, but most of these are hyperlinks where you can click and get more information. But under the second bullet, those home stagers, those are all people I've used in the past.
Ooh la la.
Ooh la la, you know, and there's different kinds of staging. But I put a burden upon the stager. A good stager will help organize and drive what needs to be done. You can't depend on them to do everything.
So, like in Dunwoody, I'm just using because that's Mark you sell. How often do you use a stager? And just out of curiosity, what does it cost to use a stager?
So they're all different prices, and I've gone and used, you know, different ones. And first of all, the concept of staging kind of falls in two categories that you have to really recognize. It really originated staging, staged furniture, vacant homes, right? That is, you know, you're at a decision path, and it's either the house vacant or is it occupied. So no vacancy, staging. They do all staging services, but is what I know them for is bringing in product to houses that are vacant. And that obviously is a lot more expensive than having somebody come in and just do a consult where the homeowner may execute whatever's recommended. It can cost from $2,000 to $5,000, $6,000 for the term on the staging on a vacant house where you have like a company like No Vacancy come in and bring stuff. I think Ooh La La does the same thing. I haven't used them for a while. But every single room isn't filled up with furniture, but they pick key rooms, and they not only put furniture in it, but they put artwork and accessories, and it just makes a huge difference because people buy houses not on logic, but on emotion. Now, it isn't to be said that a vacant house can't sell. If it's priced properly and it has, you know, a lot of great bells and whistles, you may not even need to have the seller invest in any kind of staging.
You said they can consult as well?
Well, so just to bring you full circle, so we talked about that one type of staging, which is vacant staging,
right,
where they bring in furniture. The other thing is more like what Divine Redesign and Interior Revivals does, and that is they consult with a homeowner that's living in a house, and they make changes in it to make it more palatable.
With what they already have.
What they already have. There may be a recommendation to bring in some new stuff, and some of these, like, some of them will shop for you. Whether it's light fixtures, like I had one, it was this lovely Korean couple that were older, and their house was just all white. It was all the it was from like the 90s, I want to say, but everything was white, and there was some wallpaper. So I had this one particular stager come in, and just even the interiors, like their master bedroom, the bedspread was not becoming of the house, and the light ceiling fan. So she actually consulted with them, and her time was the expense here. But she went online and she ordered a new bedspread and pillows, had it, you know, or she actually created the link, gave them the link on what to order. The homeowner went in and ordered it. It got sent there. She also picked out light fixtures to be replaced. She went on Lowe's, made some selections, gave that information to the seller, got drop shipped, and then we gave them the name of a handyman to install that stuff. And there may be painters where there isn't product involved, there's carpet, there's all kinds of different elements of this existing occupied home staging. But a lot of it's decluttering and culling out personal property, creating focal points in rooms. There's some design elements. And from my perspective, we feel that it is, and I'm talking about my wife and I, who are agents, it is probably, you know, next to pricing, it's one of the most important things that you can do to be successful in selling your home. Once again, at Keller Williams, we can kind of operate our own businesses. So as what we do is we don't mandate, but highly, highly, highly encourage each seller to have their property staged when they live there and it's occupied. I mean, we even had a person that was an interior designer, and yeah, she had a great eye, but she was like, had so much stuff in there. It was a totally different concept, just interior design versus staging. You're trying to accomplish two different things. So we said, we need to have you engage with this stager. And they'll charge you from $200 to $350, $400 for a consultation. And they'll come in, and they all do it a little bit differently. Whether they do a written report, I had one that did like audio notes that they give. Well, they give an action plan to a seller on what to do, and it could involve, you know, the two most common things that have the highest impact. Paint is the first one. Carpeting is the second. Decluttering is free. That probably trumps both of the, you know, that painting and carpeting. But also just repurposing things and moving them around to different places. I've gone into rooms and it's like, wow, that looks awesome. It's like they just moved a couple of the key elements of the furniture around, took a couple pieces out, looked like a completely different room. May have not been the most comfortable to live in, but it looked great. So, you didn't get one? Did anybody else not get one of these? And like I said, we're going to get Stacy to send this out, so you'll have the hyperlinks on this.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Anyway, how we do it is we tell sellers, and this is part of our listing presentation, that we feel so strongly, and we couch it more as an investment to them than an expense. Like, you're going to get, you know, more money and less time on market. This is a really good thing. And we say we're going to pay for this, we feel so strongly. But here's how that works. We're going to reimburse you at closing for the consultation fee. And by the way, when I say we pay, that doesn't mean we're going to pay for somebody to come in and paint or do any of the recommended changes or pay for any product that's installed. But for the pure staging consultation, which I said, depending on who you choose, can range anywhere, depending on the property. If it's 15,000 square foot house, it's going to be a different expense than a 2-bedroom condo. But we pay it at closing, and
You just take it out to commission.
we just
You
either
say
cut
we
them a
have to
check
do
or
that.
and it does two things. Number one, if that's only one element. The other is pricing. And if the seller doesn't agree to price it right, which even on occasion we'll take a listing, knowing that the seller is motivated, that we just have to kind of have them understand that this isn't going to work, and they position it better or do things to add more value. Anyway, you get these listings that don't sell. You pay for the staging on the front end. It's really hard to recoup that. It also creates some buy-in, is what we found, because we used to pay for the staging on the front end, and the sellers just didn't take it seriously when they're not paying for it, if they don't have any skin in the game. So I think we feel like it's the best of both worlds, and it gives the seller an action plan. There's some real tangible benefits to having it, and a lot of these stagers, one of the things that'll happen is a good one will be able to share things with them that are critical, whereas if you would have done it, it could have been perceived that you're critical to their home and not on their team and not on their side. You get the stager involved, they can rationalize why these are good things to do and compare it to other houses, etc. Keeps you looking like the good guy, let them look like the bad guy. And that's why stagers, an important element of them is they do have to have a good bedside manner. They still need to be able to deliver this in a way that is professional and encouraging to the sellers so that they act forward on it. You get somebody who comes in with not the right attitude and they make all these recommendations, and I've seen it happen, and it was moderately the stager's problem, but some sellers, they'll start shutting down, like what, red dining room is not in anymore? I had a friend that just sold their house with a red dining room. Well, you're not in 1986 anymore, so but it's a process. So
let me ask you a question.
Yep.
In the last couple of years, if we agree that it's pretty much been a seller's market, of all the transactions that you've done, what percentage are people that are spent
on doing stuff?
Well, I don't want to do it, I don't want to paint, I just want to sell it and leave. What percentage of people's The percentage that won't do anything is fairly low. 5%? Yeah, I don't know. Okay. But most people will do a few things. Right. Do they do as much as you want them to do? Nobody does everything. Okay. Nobody does everything. So the concept of the iBuyer is probably getting a whole lot more attention. Yeah. Because of this. Yes, it is. Okay. And by the way, we're going to have a resource for that iBuyer through Keller Williams. And if you don't know what iBuyer is, it's Mark Spain and Knock and Open Door, all those people that say, hey, don't worry about putting your house on the market. We'll buy it from you, which, at a discount.
No, they're
add
beating
improvements.
you. What they do is they assess the condition of the property, and they beat you up on what they say it needs to have.
There's all kinds of tactics and things in it, but it just boils down to this: is there a free lunch? There's always some kind of string attached.
Yeah, they're taking your equity.
Well, they're taking, in my opinion, the only reason somebody would pursue this, and there is a place for these type of, that's why we're going to offer it, but it's somebody that has a lot of equity and they need to get it out quick, and they're willing to pay discount. This concept is not brand new. Who's been doing it all along? We buy dirty houses. INVESTOR, investors. Investors have been doing this for years. They're come in and pay below market value for a house that they're going to sell for more or improve and make a profit on what they improved and sell for more. It's just a different way to package an investor, really, right? Is it not? So it's.
But you as an agent being able to talk that conversation or adding value to the relationship.
Yeah.
So being able to talk that is, in my opinion, is important.
Right.
Whether they ultimately do it or not, your value is you can talk the talk.
Exactly. There's, and you can ask Stacy, and if she doesn't have it, I can forward it, but I'm pretty sure she does. And it may be dated, but there was a real estate agent in one of our Keller Williams offices that actually wrote an article, and I think it was for Inman News that got published, where he acted like a consumer and contacted these various companies and engaged them to see what they had to offer. And the article was basically a summary of what each one of these companies did and how much it cost and what the valuations they offered, and him as a real estate professional knew what the market value was. And in all cases, whether it was through hitting sellers up for repair money, charging commissions, etc., they're figuring out ways to minimize their acquisition cost so that they can resell it for what?
I just went through the,
Yeah.
I actually went through the entire process with Gillo.
Right.
And then stopped it at the inspection. Well, they came to do the inspection because I wanted to see what the report was.
Yeah.
They never sent me the report once they realized that I was an agent.
Yeah.
But they told me like stuff that was wrong with the house, right? And it was literally about, I'm estimating $25,000 to $30,000 below what I would have taken.
Yeah, I mean, they're buying it to resell it at a profit. You know, that equation only works if they can buy it below market value. And by the way, there's a bunch of hedge fund money in this and whatnot, and if you search by these different concepts, you can, the listing brokers, you can isolate and find them in FMLS. I know there's one here just in Dunwoody, and I don't know what the resolution is, if it's still for sale or if it's sold, but I know they made repair and commission money, I'm sure, but they actually had it for sale for significantly less than what they paid the homeowner that owned it and occupied it in. So at some point in time, you know, that concept worked really well when you had a what market?
Down market.
When you had an appreciating market where they could buy it today and hopefully in 3 months it's going to be worth a little more. When you got a declining market, kind of makes it more of a challenge to do this iBuyer. But as I said, one of the tools that Keller Williams International, not this office, is working on, Gary Keller, is an iBuyer concept where those resources would be available to us. Because there are certain instances where it makes sense for a home seller consumer, right? So let's just get through staging here. So you got those two different types of staging. I told you how we handle it. It makes a huge difference. It doesn't cover everything. Stagers more are focused on the interior, is what I've found in the past. There may be some that will give input on the exterior, but you know, you just have to have a good eye and, you know, make recommendations to a seller. And we try to find low-cost, high-impact things like pine straw. I mean, pine straw is pretty cheap. Homeowners can do that themselves, and it adds a ton of value. You know, curb appeal is huge, which is part of staging. You want to have that exterior looking good. And, you know, really the goal of staging a property is to get it prepared for what?
Open house.
Sale.
What'd you say?
Sale and purchase.
No? Something before that.
Open houses.
You want to
Pictures, appeal.
Pictures.
Pictures. Pictures, images.
How many of these have you been?
So we're going to stage it, take the photos, use the photos to do the open house, get them there.
Well, you're not going to use the photos to do the open house.
I mean, to promote the open house.
Yeah.
With pictures.
But the pictures, having good pictures are a key element. So you want to put that in order. You want to have the staging done, and then you want to have the pictures taken. And you know, I'm speaking from what we do here, and we've got vendors like Virtuance that comes in. They're a great vendor. Nice thing about Keller Williams is we kind of drive our own decisions on who we do business with. Before Virtuance became a partner, I always worked with Mary Powell. She's on here. I think she's the best real estate photographer in Atlanta. and I like using her when I can. I'll use Virtuance too, but what I'm looking for is a photographer that is engaged in the property. As listing agents, we always meet the photographer at the house, either myself or my wife, and we're there to what I call micro-stage it. So you got the stager that comes through, but the people are living in the house if it isn't vacant, right? So when the pictures are being taken, a good photographer, somebody like this Mary Powell, will get to the kitchen. She's like, okay, check for, and I know what she wants me. She wants me to find like that bright red La Crusette big cooker pot. She's like, okay, well, do they have any tomatoes in the fridge? We'll get tomatoes out with a knife and have it on a cutting board. This is what I call micro staging. Up in the master, this one house that we recently listed had a little like breakfast bar. So we had she said, go get a couple coffee mugs or wine glasses. We got a rolled up Wall Street Journal with some reading glasses on it. All that stuff gets worked in there because your house, when you go to list it, is not a home anymore. It's a house, and it's a product. Product is being packaged. You see what they do in advertising. You see what they do in model homes. Do you think they just leave the dishes in the dishwasher, or just they make they're trying to create an aura to the house. So that's what, and you got to explain this to your sellers that your house is your home, but now it's moving into the realm of becoming a product, and how we package this product is really important. So that's just one element. So we do the photographer. She does those things I was just talking about. She's really detail oriented, which she misses stuff that other photographers I've worked with they would never see it. I mean, a good photographer will at least put the commode seat down. That's like a no-brainer, even though you see it all over the place where it's not done. But I mean, there was this house in one of our brochures here. It was actually this house. If you look at this house, and I'll send this around, this is a brochure. All the windows on the top level, the shades, they're all halfway down. Before she was out there talking, she's like, "Bill, come here. The far right-hand bedroom windows, the shades are down. I want them all even." Maybe it's nothing, but she's just detail-oriented, and the pictures, she has a architectural grade lens, which she told me she spent like a couple $1,000 on. So it isn't like a big bubble like wide angle, but it picks up a bigger landscape. So if you're dealing with like a $200,000 house that is not in that great a shape, it may be one thing to use your own pictures or a different photographer. But when you start getting up into the higher price points and luxury, you want to have somebody that's going to take great pictures, because those pictures are so important, because that is the first line of defense in selling a property. Right now, there's so many people that don't even go to open houses. They just do their open houses online and look at pictures. The pictures can both attract prospective buyers, but they can also do what? They can make them not even consider going to look at it. If they look at the pictures and it doesn't look good, they may, even though it may not be a good representation, they may not even go. I've had it a handful of times. People have said to me, "Man, this house looks so much better in the pictures than it does in person." But at least they came and looked at it, and they're starting to think about it. And I've had people, buy that probably wouldn't have if there were bad pictures, but just because they got out there and got a chance to get a feel for it and saw some of the other features that may have met their needs that weren't in the pictures.
So you're saying that if you had a wig hanging off the back of a chair,
guys, this is remember I told you I'm trying to be more social media. I want to do. I'm starting a collection of bad pictures, and also just even when I preview properties and show them, just a snap from my smartphone, this is how this seller left this house to be shown. Things not to do when you sell your house. Leave a completely full loaded dishes in the sink. Variety of things. So you just want to make sure that you get great pictures. Yes.
How do you feel about virtual staging?
How do I feel about virtual staging? Can you pop up the street?
Turn it on.
Oh, no, I can. They look like stickers.
So, and we got, just a precursor here. Certainty is going to do a quick introduction to list reports once we finish this staging part. So, just a second, guys, and we'll get you up here. So, virtual staging, I think, is not net as good as real staging, because once they get there, people can be disappointed, right? But it does have its place, and let me just show you something. I did a post here. I don't have it on the list that I gave you. But there's a company out there called Brownie Box Brownie, and they are based out of Australia. So you're doing business with somebody in Australia, so these are organized differently if you're on my Facebook page. But this is how Mary Powell took the photograph of the back deck. And that's what it looked like when Brownie Box, is that right? Box Brownie was finished. So all this stuff is fake. It's not, doesn't exist.
It looks like you're looking at a 3D picture.
Well, it looks real. It looks real because you can see underneath the tables there's actually shadows and stuff. So, and they can make like skies that are. So here's they can make the skies of the front of the house like cloud with pillow clouds and blue. It's like an overcast day. But this was the unfinished basement. And that's what it looks like. And this is what we used in FMLS.
Nobody watches anime cartoons? Nobody.
So,
okay.
I will admit it.
What's going to attract somebody? This or the vacant? Doesn't this look better?
It does.
So she was one of those sellers where she was done. I mean, she had redid the kitchen. It was a divorce situation. She was at the end of her rope. She wasn't going to do any more. So we just needed a little extra oomph, and we decided to try these guys for the first time.
What did they charge you?
Do you remember what it is? Like they do it by image. It may not even be that much.
Is that a one-time fee or some kind of monthly fee?
No, they can, if you have like a series of photos, and they're good, but maybe you need lightened up for the shadows taken out, you can load them, and they're like $1.60 a shot, and they do touch-up.
Okay.
They'll take out the underwear that was left on the floor. They'll take out, the dirty dishes on the kitchen counter. I mean,
Yeah, that was.
kitchen counter clean. They'll take off all those fines.
You can call it, what is it?
See, that picnic table was there, and they removed the picnic table. We had an ugly couch in the family room. They took that out in a different image and put in a bunch of furniture and artwork in that one.
This is so crazy to me.
You know, and we actually put a little blip in the FMLS in the agent private remarks saying that it had been virtually staged. We wanted to prep the agent so when they get out there, they're like, what the hell? For conceptual purposes, we have staged this vacant house.
No, okay, I can appreciate
You're going to call Bill and go, hey, you got robbed.
But I mean, it's personal property, doesn't convey anyway.
So, Bill, from an outside perspective, is it against the law to remove power lines?
I don't know if it's against the law. I mean, I don't know whether it is or not. I wouldn't do that. I mean, I've seen, well, they'll like make your backyard greener than it really is.
No, I mean, I know how to do this kind of stuff.
Sure.
But it would seem to me like that is crossing the line.
We're going to find him in a powder puff jail soon.
Right. The telephone pole in the street.
Martha Stewart.
Can't fix the back of the driveway.
Okay. That's why a good photographer will kind of line up shots that help, you know.
Right.
Wait, in the
minimize-
picture, we can't take the power lines up?
No.
It's fake anyway.
So, there's,
Power line is not fake.
If you have a good photographer, they might be able to get a good angle where they're not shown in the
Yeah, I
picture.
mean, it's all on the angle, but no, you cannot take it out.
But you're gonna see
I was
it-
just
you're
saying,
gonna see it when
we're
you
not
go
gonna
to
see it
the-
with the sky. It's gonna be different
So,
anyway.
you guys, I think there were some key resources in the Ignite module. 32% of realtors report a 1 to 5% increase in the offer when a home is staged. 16% of the realtors reported 6 to 10% increase in the offer on home staged, and a smaller portion, just 3%, say it could add up to 15% of an increase in offer. So I don't know where they get that information, but it is
I actually
helpful.
do have a, I can send it, yeah, I have a chart from the, Georgia Association of Realtors,
Right.
where they show the percentage of like, how much quicker they sell and stuff like that. I had to have that conversation with my sellers.
Yeah.
Because they didn't want to stage, and I was like, this house is tiny, you need to stage it, and I had to send them the proof, and they went with it.
There you go.
Oh, you sent them there?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and you can, when you get this, the digital version of this, with these hyperlinks to the staging resources, you can go to their respective websites, and there, I think there's a staging institute, like a trade organization. You might find some other helpful information that is created by a third party that validates that it is, you know, it's not just you saying it, you're getting it from a professional resource with different facts and figures and statistics supporting the benefits of staging. Any questions on staging? Okay.
You just blew me with everything. You did that.
All right. The next segment is what we're going to talk about is marketing the listing. So, Sherry, I want to bring you up and have you talk about the resources that you guys have, which I was using this before Starkey elected to invest in this premium product, which gives us a ton more functionality. So there's a free version for everybody, but this is even better.
You'll get it right here. I just need to be able to mess with this. Hi.
Hi. Hey.
How are y'all?
Good.
Good.
How are you? Outstanding.
All right, so what you really need to take away from me being up here is when you have a listing or a listing presentation, a lot of you have already sunk up with us on list reports, I think. I recognize a couple of names on the sign-up sheet. We have these tools for you. So don't learn everything there is to learn about list reports right now. Just come to me, and I will sit with you or talk with you over the phone, and we'll work through it. So if you already have a listing on FMLS, as soon as it goes active, these marketing materials are created automatically. You'll get an email, you click on the link, you log into list reports. I'm going to show you what you're going to see. If you've got a listing presentation that you want to get ready for, and you want to show these awesome pieces, can I peek in here?
Right here.
It's right here. These are some really cool graphics. They're called infographics that you can show your client. And these, I'm going to show you on the screen as well, have to do with the property you're trying to get the listing for. So really cool stuff.
The specific property?
Yes. So I'm going to show you how to do this as well. This is a little harder because in FMLS you already have the number of bedrooms, baths, pictures that might have furniture in them, might not. And so we have to have stuff to put in there. So you're going to have to do a little bit of homework. But it's going to be worth it because you could show up with this. So this is easy. We just need an address. But when you start to see some of these marketing materials that have the cool pictures and the number of bedrooms and baths, you've got to get that information. Okay. So
Actually, I just want to do a plug for this. I had this at an open house last weekend, and somebody was like looking at it and they're going, "Oh, look at this!" And they're like, they were reading it like line by line. Look, there's 37 restaurants like within a mile, and they're like going, "Oh my God, I've never seen something like this. This is amazing!" And I'm like,
overall, it is pretty accurate. While Sherry continues, I'm going to send this around for you guys to look at. But just a little context, this is an in-house marketing book, which I'll talk about in a minute. And this is one of the ways we use this, is in the in-house marketing book that gets put in every listing that we showcase.
So if the address is in Google, it's going to find it. And I'm going to run through it for you. So this is if you have an active listing, you get the email, you're going to come to your dashboard. If you're not signed up with List Reports, let me know.
So let me ask you a question.
Yes.
So active listing, meaning like it's in FMLS?
Mm-hmm.
So I just couldn't put an address in there and then...
I'm going to show you both ways. So
Got it.
the easy peasy way, where you don't have to do anything except upload your listing into FMLS, is going to be this. Okay? And then if you've got a listing presentation and you want to take advantage of what you're seeing,
Right.
we're going to quickly go through that.
Okay.
But when you're ready to do that, you're going to reach out to me,
Okay.
and I'm going to help you through it. Okay, so I think I saw you just touch the screen.
Yep.
Very cool. Okay, so I think I'm going to show you. Okay, so I see everybody's. I keep an eye on everybody's listings. So if you ever have a question on anything, I'm going to be able to see what you see. So that's pretty cool. So I'm just going to pull up right here. I'm going to click on View for one of RJ's listings. Okay, so basically List Reports is just marketing materials. It creates a whole bunch of different types. You can download them, you can share them. What's really cool is you could put something similar to what Bill showed you right onto Facebook, right from List Reports. So I am a Facebook user. So,
Thank you.
bless. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So,
If you're challenged for pictures, like it's a small condo, there isn't enough to include, I've even Bob Fasella turned me on to that. You know, you can save this as an image file and upload it as one of your pictures in FMLS. You now have how many?
40.
40. So, you know, this could be a
And
resource.
then MLS gives you, what, 30, I think it is?
Oh, you
No,
know,
FMLS gives you 40, MLS gives you
36.
additional. Yeah, something like that.
So you're going to see this right off the bat. The most popular ones are going to show up at the top. All of these you can view, download, share, and most of them you can share on Facebook. So you can see there's a ton of them. Okay, so they were smart, put the most popular ones at the top. The property website is the one I recommend for Facebook, and I'm going to show you why. I don't think RJ wants me to post on Facebook, but we'll at least show it to you. So this is what can come up, and right up at the top, share on Facebook. So you've got this already created. You're not recreating the wheel. You can click on things about the home, pulls up all that sort of information, and this is it really looks great on Facebook. The photo gallery will pop up.
So
So
what
they've
you're posting on
included this.
Facebook is a link back to this.
It does.
Okay.
And if you share this, you're actually sharing a link. So you can email it,
Right.
is one of the options.
So,
for
so
sharing.
with that being said and stuff, like, it's a step-by-step process. You're creating your FMLS, and then this is the link that goes to the FMLS, correct? Or
Well, no,
not?
List Reports is actually pulling from FMLS.
Right, that's my point.
Okay.
So you're telling me, I mean, because what I'm trying to get to is the physical work.
Oh, no, nothing.
You can't create a link.
Now, if it's a
You can't
brand,
create
if it's a, for a listing presentation and it's not in FMLS, it won't be able to,
I'm going to show you how
I'm
to
with
do
you.
it.
No, I'm trying to go basically from
Scratch.
input of
Right,
information
you
in
can do it, but you
FMLS,
have to do all
and
that.
from there, you create this environment, and from there, you can also link it to Facebook, is
Yes.
what you're saying.
Yes.
And
Yes.
you don't have to do just one-time work.
So once your listing's active, you've got all your pictures uploaded, and it looks like RJ actually took your idea and used it as a picture, used the infographic, so we'll peek at that. It overnight will sync in with List Reports. You get the email to know that it's completed, and there you go.
Okay.
This is waiting for you.
Yeah, I'm just trying to make sure that
Yeah.
you only have one moment that you're doing the work, and that's the moment of input into FMLS.
Right.
From there, link,
Right.
and then Facebook link is what I'm
Yeah.
trying to
Yeah.
observe.
Exactly.
Okay.
So it looks like they did put the, RJ did put the the infographics in there as a picture. So there you go. Excellent. I like that. Okay, so that's one thing. We're gonna pop back over here.
So is that what you would see on Facebook, that image?
So that first image that pops up is what you'll see
In the post.
in the post.
And if you click on it, then it'll open up another screen.
It'll open exactly like you just saw.
So they're just gonna see the boxes, the colorful boxes, and if they
The
are
first step, yeah.
inclined to
Whatever your
press-
first picture is what it's gonna look like on Facebook. So
Okay.
if you got 40 pictures, and you got the wig on the chair as picture number 1, that's what they're gonna see.
See, we really remembered that. I'm putting wigs in my pictures.
No, he's been traumatized by that. That's what happened.
I know, I'm like, what are you into?
Yesterday, what's the lady's name here in front of us?
Right here, mentioning.
She had the comp.
Mm-hmm.
The comp had that wig on the
On the
chair.
oh, yeah,
We did
the box
yesterday.
fan,
It was an
everything.
image of a comp, and the comp had somebody's wig on the chair in one of the pictures.
A blanket over the window. It's traumatizing.
Yeah.
All right. I was gonna see if I could pull up Facebook to show you one.
Yes.
We'll do it next time. Open house flyer, you don't have to create one. It's created automatically, we'll take a peek at it. Again, you know, if you click share, that's what your options are. Again, you know, just like all other websites, multiple ways to do things.
Now, you said this was free, or you said there was something we were.
So as long as you as long as you've given us your information, I think most of you have, your email address, name, first and last name, and your cell number, it will be free for you, because we pay for it.
What's the order?
Oh, so you could order, if you want them to print them for you, you can order copies of them.
Okay.
So the open house flyer, let's just take a peek at it.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to follow through, but it's asking me to give your name to log in, like the loan officer.
No, you're gonna sign in as a agent.
I did.
Okay. So you're gonna use your Keller Williams email address, so good point, you gotta have your Keller Williams, the same email address you're set up with on FMLS. You gotta make sure you're using the same one with us.
I didn't
And when
see
you talk
all
about this open house flyer or whatever flyers and such, you know, does the information, the order go through you guys, or is there some kind of direct way?
At least 2 minutes, I'm
from
gonna
us
run to the
to
restroom.
list
Come
report?
on, Bill. Say that again?
Well, you're talking about a flyer which you can order. Is the order funneled through you guys, or is it a direct relationship then with list reports? Okay.
What I recommend you do is download it. You can download it as a PDF and go to Office Depot, because I think they'll get a discount over there. It's pretty cheap, color copies.
Now,
I don't think they're cheap.
Did you say the login has to be the FMLS or the Georgia MLS, or which login?
So whatever one, which email address did you give us to sign up for this?
Who knows? Could have been one of several.
I can look.
There's the alien.
Right, but my point is that, so I have a different login for FMLS than Georgia MLS, so which one are you?
I'm pretty sure it's FMLS.
FMLS.
Is the
Okay.
one we gotta make
Okay.
sure.
Okay, I
So
can figure that part out.
when I search for you, usually it pops up. If you've been in,
I know,
Yeah.
I'm not, that part I'm not concerned about, but I'll bet you a dime to a donut that it's not the same login as the FMLS login.
Alright, so
You're talking about to get into this system?
Yeah.
To get into this?
It's
Well,
whatever.
I just logged in and it brought up both of mine for FMLS and GMLS. And I just
So
used
it's
my
an
regular
email address, not a
KWB.
login ID, just the email address. So
it's your Keller Williams,
Yeah.
so your Keller
I use
Williams.
different email.
You use different for each.
Okay, so here, any questions about the flyer? This is a flyer, so you don't have to create a flyer for your open house. You can print it, you can share it, you can post it on Facebook.
So hit the download button for me if you will.
It's gonna bring up, how do you wanna,
Right, that's what I'm interested in.
Oh, so you can print it.
So-
you can download it as a PDF, you can do whatever you want with it. Print it, post it,
So it's
email
always-
it to your
It's always
contacts.
a PDF then.
But we need to, they're gonna charge us to print anyway, so we might as
It's
well
not a
order
PNG.
print.
This is
not
too
a JPEG.
expensive, I think, I don't use them.
You can convert a PDF to a
So
JPEG.
you said you would?
If you want me to help you with your open house, I'll print them for you.
Hey,
There you go.
All right, so we're gonna take a break here in a sec. I wanna show you guys one other thing about this. and acknowledge certainty. Sherry and Randy, you guys, does everybody know
We do.
these folks? You guys have already presented to them?
Well, the gentleman did. This is our first time meeting the young lady.
Okay.
I know that I've been promised some cocktails. I know that.
We
That's
were.
all right.
Twice.
Endless supply. He said open bar.
You know, just.
Yeah, he said open bar.
You said something
Twice?
about helping.
Before
graduation.
So, you can show them now.
Okay.
If you want to help with the open house.
Well, Diana went over the other day. She was running somebody.
So caravans are really awesome too. I'll come with you and yeah, I'll come with you and co-sponsor it.
About first time buyers.
So I do first-time home buyer seminars. I actually did 2 this week, and I don't think I'll do 2 in a week again, but it's a lot. But yeah, and we're always willing to help you, the entire office at Certainty. You want us to, you know, whatever you want us to do to help you market your
Did you show us how to do it without having a listing?
Not yet.
Okay.
So if we go back to,
Basically, it'll recognize an address, but you're gonna have to input pictures and other stuff.
Okay.
oh, and one thing to keep in mind, another note to put, you know, once you have your listing, it's about to go active in FMLS or the Georgia MLS, whatever it is, reach out to us if you're interested in this, and we'll sit with you while you go through it all. It's very easy, it's very intuitive, but if you need somebody, you know, to sort of help you. Also, if you don't like one of the pictures that they selected automatically for you, you can change it. If you don't like the park that they picked in those infographics, you can change it. Okay, it's all very easy. If there's something that you want to have done in your list reports that's not happening, let me know, and we'll figure it out. Okay, so at the very top of your dashboard is the new list report. Okay, now this is if you've got a listing presentation and you want to put together some marketing materials. Okay, so the first thing you do is you just type in an address. I'm going to type in mine. The first thing it's going to ask is if it's an active listing. I personally have been putting other, because I don't know what to put.
Pre-listing coming soon. If
Okay.
it's a listing appointment, that's what I would choose.
Okay.
The face.
It's the assumptive close,
Oh, I
guys.
see.
I'm not sure how it converts graphically.
Bill, real
Oh,
quick.
there he was.
Bill,
There he was.
how often is that walked away from the interior of the homes that you have it in?
I've never had,
Nobody's ever taken it?
That's a good question, because I was wondering that too.
Why would
We
they
make like a
take it?
backup.
anyway, rather than go all through it, you enter in the information, right? And
Yep.
then it'll create the similar reports that you have access to.
They said they wanted to.
So,
That's it.
perfect.
That's it. So you'll
So-
see it listed on your dashboard.
Go see Sherry,
Yes.
use Certainty, they're an awesome resource,
Woo-hoo.
especially on buyers, you know, and a lot of sellers, we're talking about selling your listings, but a lot of sellers are gonna be your buyers too. So, engage Certainty to get them pre-qualified for their purchase as soon as possible in the future.
Also, if you're doing an open house for somebody, and you want to have stuff that has your information on it, check with the listing agent, but then you can come to a certain day and you can actually create one in here with your name on it rather than the listing agent's name.
That's actually Rate Plug.
Yes.
That's a separate program.
You can, but you can't do another listing? You could do that.
You
couldn't
can do that here, I do
Yeah.
that, yeah.
Yeah,
So it's branded under you,
Yeah.
even though you're not the listing agent.
right.
You want to get the listing agent's permission, which I personally wouldn't have a problem with that if you did it for one of mine. So, we're going to take a break here in just a sec, but before we do, I just want to talk a couple quick things here to wrap up the list reports. So, all these different tools that we're going to be talking about, you know, what's the title of the class?
Sell your listing.
Ignite.
Sell your listings. And we're talking about a variety of tools now to help sell your listings. But as important as selling your listings, what do all these, what's the dual purpose of these tools?
Lead generation.
to help you get listings.
Right.
So all these things that you're going to do to sell the listing, a lot of them are differentiate you from other agents that you're competing with. And you can talk about this and these other things when you're talking to prospective sellers. So as we move forward and talk about selling your listings, remember, all these tools and resources, you want to showcase them when you're talking to sellers and let them know how you're different than other agents and what tools you have to help get their home sold. It really makes your 14-point marketing plan actually potentially a lot bigger.
Yeah, if you could fly by the house maybe a day or two in advance, just take an exterior picture, you could basically put this.
I've even done it from Google Photos.
Yeah, exactly.
You've got to get a...
And then you could bring this.
Snag it.
With you.
Right. So the other thing is, and on this list reports, one of the features that I really like is called Just Listed Flyer that you can create from that menu of resources. So once it's in FMLS, it'll pull the pictures and descriptions. But when I get a listing, and this is something that getting back to the things that you get to get listings. One of my value propositions with a seller is when we get your listing and we go live on the market, the day we put the sign in the yard and press go for the listing, everything is going to be done. You see some of these listings that these agents get, and they have the proverbial what when people go to look in FMLS where the picture of the front of the house is. What does it say?
No photo.
No photo, yeah. That is crazy. Do not ever do that, okay? Don't go on the market until you have your photographs. A listing can only be new once. So we're talking about the pictures, we're talking about having it prepped right, we're talking about the sign in the yard. I had one where it took like a week, I saw it in my neighborhood, for the agent to get the sign out there. It's like you want... Talk to your sellers on the front end and say, this is how I do business, because it is so important to have everything right in the early part of the listing period, because we're interfacing with the most important buyers that are out there. But I like to use that Just Listed flyer because we use another resource that we're going to talk about after break called Michael Lewis Marketing, and we get these professional
that's cute.
glossy flyers. But these take a couple days. Usually by the time somebody has their house photographed, because it's clean, it has to be clean to be photographed, and it takes a couple days to get the pictures back, they're anxious to get it on the market. Every now and again we'll have the photographs done, time in advance, whether it's weeks or days or whatever. But usually once the photographs are done, they're ready to go. Well, it takes a couple days to get this done, so what I do is I go to list reports, I create that Just Listed flyer, and I print a handful of those out, and then I tell the seller, we're waiting on this custom flyer to come in, but until we have that, we're going to use this. And that goes in a little brochure box in a key place in the house.
Do you do these more on luxury?
We'll talk about that. I want to give you guys a break here, but the important takeaway is don't be a half-baked agent that lists a property and doesn't have everything done. When I do it, I want to have all the pictures done. I want the sign in the yard, the directionals out. I want that in-house listing report done. I'd like to have, if it's appropriate, all the disclosures uploaded into FMLS. Have everything done. You're going to have to do it anyway. It shows that you're professional. And have it all done as soon as that house hits the market. It's going to make you feel better, too, and you're going to look better for yourself. So any questions on that?
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
So, Randy, how big is the radius of, like, the infographic? Say, for example, if you're doing a property of bills, is it all of Dunwoody, or is it like a mile radius of
It depends
the
on
property?
what it is. So for restaurants, it could be a mile and a half.
It's
Hospitals,
pertinent.
medical, I think it's 10. Schools are going to be whatever the schools are.
But you can edit that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just curious on,
I've never had anybody say, "Oh, this isn't correct." It's just another.
I was just curious.
Pretty thing to look
you
at.
could have
It's like a billboard.
one restaurant or 50 restaurants, right?
Yeah.
Depending how what the parameter is.
I think it references a radius or something.
And I know that when I was in here before, I pitched this, and a lot of y'all signed up, but if you didn't get signed up, just give us your business card, we'll get it done right away. Did everybody that gave me their card before, are you signed up? Was there any?
I gave you my, nope, I'm not, I'll tell you later.
Okay.
There's also, once you get signed up, that left margin, it isn't just these printed graphic resources. There's a variety of things. Now, some of them are maybe extra you pay for, but there's a ton of free resources. And in fact, there's one in there that's like a lead generation where you can do farming. Because I did it for myself. I'm surprised you haven't come to me and tell me that Jeff Mendham is a hot prospective buyer. But there's a ton of
I don't have
functionality.
to, it automatically tells you that.
I know, but because you would have tried to pre-qualify him potentially. But there's a bunch of tools within there, and some of them you may want to look into further to help your business. All right?
In list reports?
In list reports.
So how is that comparable to Remind?
Same thing.
It's just a different tool. It has they're all just a little bit different. We'll talk a little bit about that.
Did you mention that because that was a potentially unrepresented buyer, or did you mention that because
there's something that you can do to create some type of farming, I forget what it was, in list reports, and I actually put in one of my fake emails and names just to test it out.
Right.
And I know that I got a notification to me, Bill Haas, that this pseudo person had signed up for it. I forget exactly. Yeah, I forget all the mechanics of it, but the point is if you go into list reports and look at the left margin of all the tools, it's more than just those infographics. There may be some things that you could use that are up and above that for lead generations and other things. Okay, who needs a break?
Bill, I'm just playing, we love you.
I need a bathroom.
Listen, make it quick. We got like 5 minutes, because I got a bunch of stuff to cover. So 5:10.
Now, we don't consider it hard. We consider it.
Right, I'm fine.
All right, you are a problem child. I can tell that.
Please write on the back that you obligate to go to the
All right, that's my thought. So,
I mean, if we're gonna drink, let's get it.
We will be providing you an Uber.
A wheelbarrow.
Cool.
Yeah.
The whole list of presentations. Yeah. And
okay, so you're doing the class, right? And you're about to transition.
Okay, January is a big time. My grandmother lives in Cumming, or Dawsonville.
Okay, if I come later,
we're going to see her, but okay, because we're going to go ahead and get out and pick my son up.
I'm really doing this, I don't want to leave Bill early.
Then we're going to go
I have to like a miss, I'm missing one, but I'm really enjoying
what they do.
I need that
the neck warmer on and
so if I do it,
so
it'll be fine. I'm gonna have to.
should I leave some?
Okay.
What's the gap, like 30 minutes?
I think you finished at 1, I think the thing starts at 1:30. You usually start like at 1:30, 1:45.
So it goes from 1:30 to what? What time is it over?
Usually about 4:30, but sometimes
Yeah.
he runs over, just depends. Yeah, just depends on how many questions he's getting and
This
how
is
much.
Bill, your wife.
Yeah.
So will he hang back a little bit if I need some more help? I hate to be that girl, but then again,
He's usually here about 5:30.
okay, cool. Okay, Bill, bathroom, yeah, that's what I said.
I didn't know it was gonna text me, that's awesome.
Even though you have to ask the same questions over and over again,
Say again?
even though you have to ask the same questions, that we told you.
About.
Yeah, you do, because you don't trust your team, do you?
Mary Powell created this. The photographer. That's her brochure.
Lift it off.
And then he took a nap at school again yesterday.
So you didn't.
He's growing. Luckily, he had growing yesterday, so he,
He's an wow.
This is your actual list.
Oh my gosh.
Awesome.
Well, if I can print this out today.
Once you get you for your team meeting thing the other day, because I got to plug that in, the convo.
I just need it so
What's that name?
All your stats and everything that we went
Oh, yeah,
over,
yeah.
I was able to kind of sound intelligent, even though I'm like way swimming in
good.
information.
Yeah,
So yeah, they were just like, "What does the market look like? What are we doing?"
Well, I'll show you
Kids?"
something.
And I was like, "Well, actually."
I put this on for, how do we unmute?
But I just wanted, I was like, oh, special, because I was like, I have the stats I can pull out, because I sat in the meeting last week.
This is, it's kind of on the same line as that info, listing, reports, but,
I have to put the FMLS number and all that on there, don't I?
It may have pulled it, it looks like it pulled the pictures from FMLS.
this is something I've asked Diane and, Stacy to look at. I found this on Pinterest. And, you know, if you were here a couple weeks ago, Brad and I did the market statistics.
In a team meeting.
And it's provided by a third-party vendor that does the analysis and creates the graphic reports.
You should have gotten like the key 5 slides that they went over during that presentation. I think Stacy or Brad sent them out. Yeah.
The quarter, like,
Okay. Yeah.
I got that, yeah.
So this is what this is the thing that they went over.
It's, the guy that does it is kind of more, I would put in the terms of a engineer than a marketing person. He's a statistician.
Yeah.
So this has nothing to do with us, but I showed this to Diane and Stacy, and I'm hoping that maybe somehow we can get somebody to put something like this together out of those quarterly stats that take our market information and present it in a format. This was done by a.
I can do this.
When they did the quarterly.
Yeah, you can do this.
That's what I do.
That's what you do? Okay, we'll talk to Stacy and Diane, because a lot of these metrics we're tracking in these statistics already. This was for the month of December, but basically, you know, you got a narrative about what's going on.
Right.
You know, we know median sales prices, monthly sales, days of inventory. If we could create a template that we could update regularly, you know, they just made it more winter time there, you might, you know, do spring, fall.
We have it on our list.
Are you envisioning a quarterly release of this?
Yes, it's
Because we could have a template time.
Well, we get the information quarterly.
What? That's good. Maya says she does that.
Maya does it.
Oh, that's Maya, it's great.
Yeah.
In my previous life, I've actually built infographics.
I'm kidding.
Really? I've used
Because you don't have any
like an advertising company.
But
And
yes,
it probably
okay, so
costs
we've
about,
got to volunteer.
if you were to provide them stats for them to actually produce the piece,
Right.
it's about $2,200.
2,200. What if you put this on like Fiverr and you gave them the information and said, do this or put these numbers in there? That would, they wouldn't do it for $5, huh? Maybe 20, 25?
No, but the thing is, so if you think about it, right, how many agents we have?
Right.
2,000?
Yeah.
A buck an agent?
Yeah.
Oh,
mean,
okay, that's
I mean, just to get it in template format, even if it wasn't seasonal, where, you know, once you have it, you go back and do that. But Maya says she can do that, you know?
And you go through like stuff that.
But that one that I did was, front and back. So,
Yeah.
it potentially could be lower.
Right.
But
this would be, I much would rather give this to a customer than just a text. Something like this, you know, and we could have it custom branded to Keller Williams and us as the agent. So you think that's something you might be able to mastermind with Stacy and work out?
As long as you have the, like,
Yes.
We've got the numbers, but we don't have the template.
if you have the numbers, that's fine. And then
That's
like,
for Bill.
the thing is like, figuring out which data points need to stand out versus the ones that.
Right.
Which
Yeah,
ones
right,
you
we're gonna
wanna
have to.
highlight.
This is, I think, you know,
This is exactly like, if it's exactly the same kind of.
we're pretty much tracking all this information, ironically. This is from,
January
I wonder what market this is now.
2015, yeah.
Phoenix, this is for Phoenix. But isn't that
Yeah,
cool?
like what is
All right.
important to the person reading it, right? Like, so, for instance, this is good for a general real estate like audience, right? Like,
But-
a buyer or a seller doesn't necessarily care for it as much as they care for the day Where is it?
Yeah,
The days of market.
absolutely.
So we might make that bigger than this, you know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah, you wanna, I don't know, I think this,
It's more like this is done for realtors.
This is done for realtors, so we need to like switch it out.
well, most of it's
Gear it.
pertinent, like listing success rate versus expired
Right.
listing.
Correct.
So you will make that bigger than, for instance, this,
Yeah.
right?
Like,
And make that
change
smaller.
listings.
Yeah.
Like some of this stuff may not even be current, but
Yeah, but,
You
well,
know.
that can all be ascertained. All right, is everybody back?
Okay, what do you used to do when it comes to
InDesign. Photoshop with this much text.
Okay,
I would prefer InDesign.
so Stacy,
Because like, there's not enough pictures. Like, it's more like.
we're gonna get started, guys. You gonna do, don't forget to do my video that I asked for. These guys are in on it too, they know what's, we're gonna do a little.
oh, Diane hadn't done that? Oh,
I
yeah.
don't think so.
Okay.
So, we're moving on to the next phase, and in the Ignite, it's marketing the listings, and then it's also communicating with sellers, right? Okay? And there's open houses too, I think. Marketing the listing and communicating with sellers, I'm going to go off script here, and I'm going to show you guys some of the tools that I use that maybe things that you choose to use in your business. So I'm going to reference the sheet that I handed out here because I created hyperlinks in it. It's in a Google Drive, and I will share that with Stacy, and she can share it with you. But these are listing resources that I use to get more listings, like I talked about before, but also to sell the listings. So for me, selling my listing, the first conversation, the first most important point is pricing your listing, right? If it isn't priced right. So to me, that's part of selling your listing. And I just wanted to share a couple quick tools because I think it is really helpful. So there's two things that I'll use on occasion. So we have access to two MLSs. FMLS is I use every day. GAMLS, not as much, but they've got some great tools, some really super tools. So does everybody have a log on to GAMLS? Know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
All right. Has anybody been in there? When you log on, it gives you this main window and this CRX Hacks Suite. And I really like this because it's a great resource for getting information on values. You know, you got to do your own comp work and whatnot, but this just gives you a ton of good information. So you can put in the county, and you want to search by street. I'm going to put in a house I used to live at. And just show you a couple quick things in here. So it's kind of clairvoyant. It'll recognize the street. It'll pull it up. And it just has a wealth of information here. It's kind of similar to the tax data in FMLS and Realist. I think it's pulling from the same properties or the same database in some cases. Anyway, just a ton of information, and across the top up here, it has, you know, comparables, facts and figures. One of the things I wanted to show you was has information, the flood maps. What was the valuation stuff here? Let's just open that again. Oh yeah, so it'll pick up comparables if you're struggling with what comps to use when you're doing your CMA. If you click that comparables tab, show the subject, and you can kind of, if you know the area, you can choose like, these ones kind of far away, or they may or may not be good. This is pretty clairvoyant. This is the county line, so it is only picking DeKalb listings. But there's just a ton of information, and there is a valuation recommendation that if you dig deep enough, you'll find it in here. Let me just see if I can locate it real quick.
What's that prospecting button?
What's that now?
What's that prospecting button?
Good question.
And you know what, that's a whole nother thing, so let's save that.
Yeah.
But it's a good thing. It's, enables you to say, okay, I want to prospect in this neighborhood, and I want to know which are the owner occupants versus
Yeah.
the...
I think you can create mailing lists and all kinds of variety. You can download it to Excel. Because what I was telling Stace is, I would be remiss in talking about selling your listing if I didn't give a couple inputs on pricing. So I think that is, in fact, to rewind the video, Stace is going to be my videographer here for my Facebook post. So, as I stated, the most important aspect of selling your listing is actually getting it priced right to begin with. If you don't have that done, then you're doing it all for naught. So we've got a variety of resources that we can refer to that can help you dial that in. A lot of consumers believe that they can start at a higher price and they'll still get offers. Is what I found in my 20-plus years of experience is that usually doesn't happen. It happens on occasion, but if you're not priced right, that property will help other listings sell, and oftentimes it gets the showings are avoided, and you're just you're not going to get any action. You're not necessarily just going to get lower offers. So, so the other resource I wanted to show you real quickly was this Remind, and this is both in FMLS and GAMLS. It's a free tool that you have access to. Has anybody heard of it or used it or whatnot? Okay. Well, just when you're doing your pricing here, if you put in an address, and I did that same house, this is one I used to live in, and you can click on once you put it in, it'll pull up this window, and you click on this address, and it kicks up a ton of information. You can even track these homes. It's crazy. Anyway, the one thing I wanted to show you real quick is, you see up top it says valuation in the middle? Mm-hmm. If you click on that, it'll scroll down to it.
You're in Georgia MLS, correct?
This one's in Georgia MLS. I've never compared and see if there's a difference. What's that?
I'm just trying to make sure,
This
the vehicle that you're in currently.
So, these are valuations that are calculated through algorithms, not somebody walking through houses, so they don't necessarily know the quality of the lot, upgrades, a variety of things aren't taken into consideration. But almost all of these auto valuation tools have ranges. And the one thing that I found out is the specific number that they're recommending, in this case the 529.9, that may not be correct, but usually the range is going to be accurate. So you at least know what your bookends are when you're talking to a seller. Then you go back and you do your own comp work and you validate it with actual homes that are currently on the market or under contract and are recently sold, right? But here's the cool thing about this. So that number that I just referred to up there, that number and range is a average of these four algorithm valuation services. I've never even heard of Black Knight, and I'm not sure I've ever heard of ePraisal. But more information consolidated down, taking averaging, is a good thing. So this is just an interesting thing to look at. The one thing when you go to talk to your sellers too is you really want to know this Zillow number because they're probably aware of it. So you need to, at least know what Zillow says, so when you go to talk to them, if they reference it, you can give some feedback. All right, so check it out. just, you know, you gotta go in and play with these tools, and there's each one of them have all kinds of functionality and other features that, you know, may or may not be helpful to you. So pricing is key.
I have a question regarding pricing and clients that rely on Zillow a lot,
Yeah.
right? Like Zillow's estimates can be out of whack sometimes, and when I looked at this to check to see how to price a home, my recommendation came in $15,000 less.
Yeah. So I'm gonna give you guys all a piece of homework here. So when you get home, Google Zillow owner selling his own house valuation. I don't know if that's the right string or not, but you get the idea what I'm doing?
Yeah.
So this is not the most current information, but it's a really interesting story you can tell. Whenever you can tell stories in sales, it's really helpful. Hold on one sec. So, and I may not have the facts 100% correct, but the gist of this is whoever was in charge of Zillow, this was a few years ago, went to sell his house. And the Zestimate for his house was here, and what it actually sold for was way down here. And even if you go onto their website and you drill deep enough, you'll find disclosures on the Zillow website that have statistical, what's the phrase I'm looking for?
They're looking for disclosure information.
Correlations or something. It's a statistical term, but there's certain
variations,
and
Statistical probability,
something along those lines. It's a term I do remember hearing in high school and college statistics.
Within 2 standard deviations.
Standard deviation. Anyway, the point is, and I haven't done it recently, so maybe it's not there anymore, but there was a place on Zillow that you could drill in deep and you could look, and they revealed what their accuracy rate was. And I want to say when I did it way back when, they admitted that they're only like 65% correct.
Okay.
So go do your own research, but I thought that was really telling when the owner of the organization, his valuation came up so much higher than what the house was really worth. And it can go wrong, it could be wrong in both directions, high and low. Okay, Stacy, I'm going to email you this link to this Google Sheets, because these are all hyperlinks. Some of the links are going to require you to log in, and you may, so it may not bring you to. You may need to drill a little deeper on some of these hyperlinks, but some of this stuff we've already talked about. So the staging up here, these are just some of the staging organizations that I have experience with. Really like them. This Inspiring Interiors, that's Kathy Hans. Is she still one of our preferred vendors?
No.
She's not. Okay. Anyway, you want to find somebody that you feel good with. I mean, whether it's a staging vendor or a carpet person, whoever, it's not a bad idea, and you can use it as lead generation too, this other reason to call them, but you make a point of contact with these people right now before you absolutely need them. There's a couple key vendors that you're always going to have. Stager is going to be one of them. You've already got your mortgage person, but you know, call them and ask them to send you their pricing information, and you know, ask them how they work, and if you just have a 10-minute conversation with them when you're on the car over your speakerphone, you'll get a feel for who you feel like it might be a good person to work with, and versus starting from scratch when you really need them.
So, question for you. So this might be something for Stacy. So what criteria do we use for preferred vendors for Keller Williams specifically for this office? So is there like a set of criteria that we use, or how do people come in and out of the program?
They pay to play.
Yeah.
$1,200 a year, and we cycle them through, highlighting them at team meetings, and to this point, twice a year we have a vendor fair where they all come and introduce themselves and have
food,
giveaway, tchotchkes, and we are scheduling it. It won't be till April. We do October and April. So you can go around and do what Bill's talking about, but no harm, you know, reaching out to them before then. I mean, we only bring people into the program that an agent in our office has already used and raves about. So there's firsthand experience with them. We would never take somebody that's a total no-name.
Okay.
So, and there's a list in the workroom of all our current preferred vendors, but you don't have to use them, and experienced agents have additional resources like Bill is sharing with you.
Yeah. I mean, I like to use our vendors whenever I can. They support our office. They support a lot of our different initiatives, whether it's charitable stuff or social things that we have going on here. But that's not my first filter. They have to be, great vendors. So I have a mixture, and some of the folks, and you can always encourage, if you feel like they're a great vendor, that they participate in this program. Brad's assistant Rachel, she's kind of in charge of managing that program. Just talk to Brad and get Rachel's information. She's the one that sends out the notices for the team meetings and the agendas. But there's no mandate that you have to use anybody. I try to pick what I look at the client first and who's going to be the best solution for my client. So.
And another rule of thumb, a best practice, is that when you are, not so much when you're recommending a painter, but for some of the, like, inspectors and whatnot, you come up with your list of 3. Sometimes it's hard to get 3, but you don't want to be the one responsible for the terrible experience that your client has because they used who you recommended. So if you offer at least 2 names, and even 3, they're going to make the choice.
Yeah.
That's just smart business.
And, especially on inspectors, we've got some great inspector partners, but, if I have a buyer has a relationship with somebody, I would encourage them to use that person because, there's a chance that it could be detrimental to the transaction, and there always is if it's an unknown. But if anything goes wrong, it was their choice, not somebody who you recommended. So it kind of back ends what Stacy was saying. So yeah, just try to use those folks, and where you can, like the next Mary Powell Photography. So she is, and by the way, I'm going to send this around. So you guys have all seen this marketing book, right? This in-house marketing book. This is something that we use kind of free listing when we're going over to tour the person's house to take an inventory of it. And somebody took out my staging and I had some staging stuff in the first tab here. But you've got the Mary Powell Photography, as we talk about her. We actually make this a value proposition, like, hey, we hired the best real estate photographer in town at our expense to photograph your house. And these are just Mary's brochures in here.
You say that when Virtuance is here bringing lunch?
Are they bringing lunch today?
No, but I was just wondering.
They did a couple of days ago.
And I like Virtuance, but I've talked to them before why I had a predated relationship with Mary.
Absolutely.
And some of the stuff she does, I really, especially in the more higher-end luxury listings. Discussion about a pre-listing appraisal, which this is, before we get the house listed. There's some pluses and minuses to doing that, but this information covers that, and appraisal information. Home warranties. We got some great home warranty partners. Virtually all of them offer a free seller's coverage while the property is listed. This is just another value add that you're bringing to your sellers, whereas during the listing period, and there's some limitations on it, but during the listing period, they have a protection plan where if something breaks, the service will potentially cover it for the nominal cost of a deductible. It could be $60 to $75, with no commitment of them having to buy any type of warranty in the future, even if they file a claim.
But that's a free service during the listing period.
Yeah, and if you go to any one of our partner vendors and you pull their brochures, you'll see little matrices on them that basically, like this one says, seller only, buyer only, and they all have a free version. The big thing that a home warranty covers is HVAC. Yeah. HVAC is really the big one. Right. So many of these on seller's coverage, there's limited, they don't cover 100% of the HVAC. And then finally, these are just a bunch of flyers that we had Michael Lewis Marketing print from templates that we've created. We'll talk about that more. But they print these for us, and we use these inside the house and for other marketing endeavors. Virtually every listing we do one of these 11 by 17 fold-over flyers, unless it's just, the price point is below $300, we may do something different. But in this market, it's hard to do it. So that has that, and then I think there's some just listed and just sold postcards. So anyway, we talked. So that is that book there. Like I said, is what we do is when I go over to tour a house and kind of take an inventory, and there's all kinds of. We're not going to get into the format of how we decide on how many appointments we do for a pre-listing, but we let the seller. We typically try to walk through the house by ourselves, and we say, hey, we're going to walk through the house with the eyes of a buyer. We're a buyer's agent. Why don't you hang out here and look through this book and see if you have any questions? And it tends to go, it's a lot more expedient. That's the way we do it usually. In some cases, we'll have the seller kind of tour with us, because it gives you an opportunity to do what you've heard in business before, the old acronym called FORD. You know what that stands for? I know Pete does, but does anybody else know what FORD stands for?
Family, occupation, recreation, and I'm not sure what the D is.
Dreams. Yes. So those are the things you're talking about to create rapport and trust. As you're meeting with your clients, that FORD, I always thought it was a good little acronym. But sometimes we don't do that at that point in time, and we go through the house ourselves. Anyway, when we're not, we'll be leaving that book there either way for them to look through. Okay? This is not the pre-listing package, by the way. That's just a book that does some more of the heavy lifting. They get to kind of see how we're differentiating. All right. We also use this...
I have a question.
Yes.
You say you leave that book with the seller?
No, we usually just, while we're there.
Oh,
On occasion, if they ask for it, we'll leave it there.
Yeah, it's kind of better than a Rubik's Cube, I guess.
Yeah. So agent marketing, this company does a variety of things. We use it primarily for their agent or for their property-specific websites. Okay? And we have a plan. I think we're on a legacy plan that isn't $60 a month, but it's more than $19. It's like, I think we pay like $35 a month to have 10 listings at any time or something like that. But anyway, it doesn't matter. You can just do it for one property. You pay $20 and you get a really robust website. I'm going to show you what I'm talking about here. And there's other, like that list reports, they offer property websites too. We just happen to like this better. So, and we talk about this with the sellers. So there's a variety of different templates. When we hire Mary Powell, she delivers to us low-res photos and high-res photos, and we use them in different places. This agent marketing, where we do this website, is we upload the high-res pictures. So it's like we've marketed it as a high-definition virtual tour. So you can kind of drill into these images and expand them, and it doesn't, get pixelated. But is what we do, and we talk about this. This is part of our pre-listing package. And I don't have the domain. I think it's still in existence, but it may not. But we buy a domain for each one of our listings, a website. And it's typically the property address, www.7150 roundrd.info. because it costs $3 from where I buy it for the first year. It goes up to like $20 the next year, but I don't really need it beyond 1 year. If the property hasn't sold, it's not going to be useful to me. So we buy that domain and we use that as part of our marketing. If you look at the book with the brochures, we don't put the price in those high-end brochures.
That was my question. Why?
Because in many cases we have to make a price adjustment.
Okay.
And you don't want to have to reprint brochures every time,
Current
especially
pricing,
high.
that's smart.
So it's on the website.
So
You can go to the
on
website.
the footer of every page?
Yep, and there's also a QR code. You can scan that. So there's a variety of ways. And that also, in addition to allowing us to not have to reprint, it also drives people to get more interactive with a property and go to the website. Okay? But it has all kinds of great features. One of the cool things I like is somebody tell me an obscure language that they're familiar with.
Familiar with?
Yeah.
There's it down. Southern Hebrew.
Is that so you can go in and you can
French.
I mean, where they got like here's your Hebrew. So it converts it all into like 55 different languages. Now Google and some other stuff will do this for you too. But this is again, I had that lovely couple from Korea. And when I showed them this and I put the website in Korean, they just like lit up, like, you know, that was really cool to them. So that's one of the features. It has a variety of different other robust features. The agent marketing does more than just these websites. There's all kinds of things. But you know, we use this for the virtual tour. You know, there's a virtual tour offered by FMLS called Property Panorama.
Right.
And it's a really, I mean, it's better than nothing, but we like our virtual tours much better. It's much more robust. And, you know, it's really just still pictures that they're panning across. But, and this probably isn't a good example for it, the way it's displayed. It looks better, more minimized. But really like this, we do this for every property. Get that domain, create this website. It's a templated format, so it doesn't take a ton of time. Once you've done it once or twice, it's really easy to plug all the information in. Some of the stuff may sync from FMLS, but I think we pretty much enter most of it ourselves. But we'll take and we'll just copy and paste the remarks that we create for the FMLS and paste them into here. Sometimes expand them more because it gives you more character count. But it's we really like it, and you can do it. I mean, invest like $20 in a listing, big deal, you know, as part of your marketing expense, and have this. If you have lots of listings and more than one, you may invest in a more premium package. Any questions about agent marketing? And it has like a Craigslist poster. It has all kinds of other tools in here that you can use. You can order sign writers. It's really pretty amazing. All right? No questions on that? Michael Lewis Marketing. I'm not going to go into depth on this, but have you heard this before, Michael Lewis Marketing? Has anybody ever mentioned it? Okay. So this is where we create those flyers. And we create them in their templates. We have one template set up, so we're not starting from scratch every time. You'll see a couple variations there, but we've changed it over the years. But we basically, at any given time, we're using one template. And it's a matter of populating the pictures and taking the verbiage. Because what we do is we use Dropbox, and we create either Microsoft Word files with the common text elements that you're going to use in the different formats, whether it's FMLS, GAMLS, in this agent marketing or Michael Lewis, so that we can just go and copy and paste it. Because a lot of them have different character count requirements, like you can only put so many characters in, so you end up abbreviating a variety of things. But this Michael Lewis Marketing, right now, we really like it. We show these brochures to our sellers, you know, they're real heavy, grade cardstock, they look pretty, you know, it seems like an investment. I think the most we spend is like $50 to $75 on those, and we always have a stack big enough where we have a bunch left over that we use for handing out to agents or other things.
Give me an idea of how many is a bunch.
I mean, I think we order typically less than 100. We'll order like 75 at a time. 75
So
units.
about $1 a piece.
They're about $1 a piece, I would say. My wife could answer that question, but or even a little less potentially. I can't recall, but it's, you know, I mean, you're going to have expenses. They're paying you a commission, so you've got marketing expenses. This is one of them.
So it's not like Halloween candy where you go, oh my God, we're going to run out.
No. We've rarely ever run out, on maybe one or two occasions, and it's basically because we didn't do a good job, you know, doing the very first thing on my list, which was getting the price right. Most of our listings, we sell in 30 to 60 days. You know, I got 2 totes full of these extra brochures that we never used for anything that I use in these classes, and we meet with a seller, we'll give them a couple examples.
Kindling for the pig roast.
What's that?
Kindling for the pig roast.
Exactly. The turnaround time is exceptional. You know, if we put an order in today on Thursday, we would definitely have it by next Tuesday, maybe Monday. So they turn it around real quick, but we use that list reports just listed flyer and print them out at the color printers here in the meantime. They have all kinds of different marketing resources. We really only use it for 2 things. We use it for the brochures, which you'll see, and then in the back of that book there's just listed, and we also do just sold postcards that we send out. We always do the just listed. Sometimes we do the just sold. That's more to promote your business and try to get more listings.
Okay.
Right there.
Go ahead.
No, ladies first, go ahead.
How effective are the just sold postcards in getting new business? Have you been able to track that? I'm not convinced.
Yeah, I don't think it's a great return on investment, but we do it because it's another marketing point to get the business, saying that we're going to be sending out 100 postcards to your closest neighbors, because we always say, who's the best salesperson for your house? It's your neighbors. They're going to be the best advocate for selling your house is your neighbors. So we want them to be informed, and we give a stack of them, a handful of them to the seller to give out to whomever they want. Again, we don't put the price on it, so it drives the people to the website, and it's good. So I would say if it's an area that you want to continue to market and farm, your return on investment will go up significantly. But if you're just out there like one listing, you happen to get it in a friend's neighborhood, no following, really don't want to work there anymore, other than appeasing the seller and showing them the more things that you've done to earn your commission. You know.
Yeah. It helps build your brand if you want to stay in that territory, obviously, but we usually throw away stuff.
The same question on the door hangers. Have you used that?
My wife has ordered them, and they're sitting in one of those totes. I mean, when I first got into business back in 1993, one of the first things I did was knock on doors. I used to follow this one sales trainer. His name was Mike Ferry. He's actually his son is.
Tom Ferry.
Well, this is his dad. Oh. His dad was.
You are old.
His dad is the original. Tom Ferry's the son, but he was all about knocking on doors. And if you knocked on a door and they weren't selling, you keep moving. And it's, you know, not even trying to gain future business. You're just looking for that one person who was interested in selling. But I used to walk around and knock on doors. In fact, I'd buy these little tabs at the cobbler that you put on your shoes, because I was wearing out my heels so fast. And I would use just an 8.5 by 11 flyer that I would at least, which wasn't in his program or teaching. It was like, if nobody's there and nobody's saying they want to buy, you just keep moving. Like, you might as well at least leave something here. So I haven't used those, but it's a nice graphical. I've seen them before, and it's nice. And is where I would use it is when you do get a listing. I think one of the highest impact things you can do is do a open house and you go around and you personally invite all the neighbors and give them something that shows how well you're marketing the property. And you go to them and invite them, and you preface the conversation with, hey, you know, I've got the Joneses' house for sale. It's an awesome house. I just wanted to reach out to the neighbors because I know you guys love this neighborhood, and wanted to ask you if you could think of anybody who might be a good candidate to buy this house. And it may help sell the house, but it probably won't. But what kind of impression did you just leave that neighbor?
That you're going the extra mile.
That you're going the extra. This guy's actually out there trying to sell my house. He's not just waiting for it to sell. And you know, invite him to the open house. This is where you put that met into the database after you had a chance to talk to them. It's a lot. You got a lot more going on with that person than somebody who you bumped carts with in the Walmart parking shopping center parking lot, right? So that's what I would say on those door hangers. This is something that the office subsidizes. There's no cost to you other than the specific printing costs, but we do pay a fee for it because it is a valuable resource, and I would encourage you to check it out and set up a template and use it, because I think they do a great job, and it's very reasonable in price. Any questions? And if you don't know it, go to Diane or Felicia, and she can let you know the how to sign up and get your credentials.
What's your thoughts in this day and age as far as knocking on doors?
You know, I think it's best if you have a purpose to do it. Just to do it blind, you know, like just walk. You know, people are so...
Yeah, I work from home and I can see people. I'm like, I don't know who that is.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting right there. They can probably see me in my office.
Right.
And I'm not opening my door. I'm not getting up. So.
You don't. And that's why I like a leave behind is good.
Yeah, okay.
But, I mean, I always, you know, you knock on the door and I kind of take a couple steps back to give, you know, that respectful space in between yourself and the homeowner. And, you know, if you're dressed nice, too, it makes a big difference. And they may think that you're some kind of Hare Krishna or something. Who knows?
What's funny is that, so for the open house, I did open house and I knocked on doors. I probably knocked on like 40 doors.
Right.
I thought same thing. You know, people weren't going to come to the door. I actually came to the door and they had a good conversation with you about the house because, to your point, they're interested in selling the house also.
Right. I mean, if you have something that, you know, if you have the brochure like those printed out and has pictures of the house and it's their neighbor's house, I mean, some people will do that. They'll like stand behind the window like, what do you want? You know, like, when the real estate agent get the house for sale. And you just gotta make it fun. But yeah, some people aren't going to answer. But
it's a lot of work.
I would focus first on situations where you have a purpose for doing it, and just blind walking around knocking on doors. So. Getting your listing sold, matrix portal for sellers. I think we might have talked about this a little bit, you know, about the lady who drove out her driveway and saw the for sale sign in the yard. You can create these portals in Matrix, which is our FMLS. You can set up a search and it'll send out the initial results to whomever your contact is in that matrix. You guys know what I'm talking about?
Yes, you covered that earlier.
So, I do this for every seller. I set them up, so their neighborhood, so they're getting market updates. You know, if a new house comes on the market, if one goes under contract, if one's under contract, it's sold, they're getting touched. And, you know, have you guys all seen this, what it looks like? You know? You have, okay. So it's a good tool, it's free. It makes it look like you're working when you're not at night. You can set it up to send them at night. It's just an awesome resource. Just set up all your sellers. You know, you don't want to make it so it's not. If it's a big, large, huge, super like neighborhood like Windward, you want to cull it down. You know, you don't want them to get hammered every day with information.
But conversely and stuff, this obviously can operate for your buyer clients as well. Like your wife probably uses it.
Yeah, that's what it's designed for, but you can manipulate it to do.
Right.
So it's just another way of staying in touch. In-house marketing book, we've already talked about that. I talk about the Super Key Box and how it's a benefit to the sellers, how we're using it to sell your house. Interestingly enough, you guys have all heard of Mark Stain, right?
Oh, yeah.
He's a Keller Williams agent. He grew and learned a lot of his business from our founder, Gary Keller, the nurturing and the team building and the millionaire real estate agent, all that business. Can't give all the credit to Gary Keller, but I would think that even Mark Stain would give a lot of it to Gary Keller, of his growth of his business. But it was funny that one of his radio ads in the recent past, he talked about the most secure showing in the industry. Did you guys ever hear that radio ad?
No.
Yes, I heard it.
You heard it. So he goes on the radio talking about how all the all agents, only licensed agents will have access to your house and yada, yada, yada. Well, in one sense, it's kind of brilliant. He's using this as a marketing feature, but we're all doing that, right? We all use lockboxes. Anybody that accesses a lockbox has to be a licensed agent, or at least there's some type of control. They don't just give the keys out to anybody. So use that when you talk to your sellers. Like, this is a value. It's a very secure device. We actually had one of the old school ones, where Michael Martino and I had a co-listing, and this family went on vacation. They came home in the middle of the night, drove from Myrtle Beach, and they couldn't get into their house. So he could get into his garage and got a sledgehammer and tried to sledgehammer open our lockbox. And we went out there, and it was totally mangled, but it didn't release the key. So they're very secure. And I tell sellers that anytime anybody accesses this lockbox, we're going to get a digital notification of who it was. So there's a control environment. We do a little pre-listing meeting with the sellers, and we reiterate this stuff. And we don't attach the lockbox to the doorknob. We let it freestand, unless it's just in some area where there's just some chance that it could get stolen. But in North Atlanta, to me, I don't think it's a problem. I've never had one stolen. But anyway, that lockbox, we tell the seller, oh, by the way, we're leaving this off the doorknob here. It's designed to be hooked to a doorknob or a hose bib or somewhere secure. So, we really have confidence that nobody's going to be able to break into it and steal the key. But the reason why we do that, Mrs. Seller, Mr. Seller, is that, say you're home, on a day off from work and you want to take a shower. Well, most people are going to be contacting you in advance to show the home, but by having that lockbox out there, somebody could access it and get into your house. But if it's not attached to the door, you can bring that lockbox inside, and then what would happen? Nobody can. So that's what we handle that, and we also tell them too, and you should tell your sellers this, that even if you're home and somebody shows up, make sure they key into that lockbox so I have a record of who it is. And if anybody shows up who is not an agent and that wants to look at your listing, don't even open up the door. You don't have to open up the door if you don't feel comfortable. Just reference the sign out front and say, please call my agent. He'll make arrangements for you to show you the house. You don't want to be showing it to anybody. I've never heard of anything going wrong, but I think it's just prudent to inform your sellers to do that. And, we say that's why you hired us, is for us to show the property. So you shouldn't feel like you have to show the house yourself. So there's all kinds of reports you can access through that Supra eKey website on agents that have shown your property. It does have the ability for you to drive feedback from that Supra, so you can generate requests from feedback from agents that have shown the property. I don't use that feature there, but it is helpful. Along with the Super Key Box concerning showings is showing time. And is everybody familiar with showing time, what it is? So it's a partner with FMLS and MLS that allows you to schedule showings. In the past, 10 years ago, I'd be on the phone calling all these people, and I'd mapped it out on a map with a highlighter. It was a real was a pain in the neck. And then this product came into play, this showing time. And there's really two versions of it. Some, like mega agents, will pay for a premium version where agents have to call and talk to an operator and make the request, and then they email you back whether it's been approved or not. So you'll see in some cases there isn't that link in FMLS, but they're referencing a phone number, an 800 number for you to call to schedule a showing. There's some kind of mindset that there's people out there that would rather talk to an operator than just click a button. And you have, as an agent, listing agent, you pay more money to have that operator feature. I don't see the value. But regardless, I use the free showing time feature that's through FMLS, and it's really robust. And the hyperlink in this document has a feature sheet which has the seller's guide and has some of the benefits to a seller. But in essence, this showing time service allows you, once your listing is in the system, to go in, and there's all kinds of controls and notifications and things you set up on a one-time basis. But it basically takes your listings and it allows you to open up this system where sellers can participate in it, and they will be notified when somebody clicks that link, when an agent clicks the link in FMLS to request a showing. And either myself, Bill Haas, the agent, my wife Kathy, or the husband or wife sellers, they can approve that showing via a text or an email. And
do you have to, so are you have to be in front of a computer?
No, it can be a text. That's our primary, that's where we set it up almost entirely for people, is text.
So I want to show your listing, irrespective of how I set it up, you're going to get a text.
I'm going to get a text.
Okay.
My wife's going to get a simultaneous text.
Okay.
The seller, the buyer, the seller's kid, who's 17, they get it.
So who are you assuming that has first choice?
Well, you have a conversation with your seller. Say, this is the way it works. And oh, by the way,
so it's not a round robin. If he doesn't do it in 5 minutes,
it goes out to everybody, and one person can accept it or decline it.
Okay.
And unless the people are out of town, we'll say we'll take care of it. And you don't have to worry about it. And you can even you can make changes in it too, but the reality is it goes out, but it gives the seller total control, because they can click a button and accept the showing, or they can reply to the text by putting a Y in instead of hitting send.
I got text and phone calls. Did you get?
You can set it up for text, email, phone call, and even push notifications.
The phone calls were a bother. They were just automated.
Yeah.
Well, I guess my question was, all right, obviously you want to sell his house, right?
Right.
So you say yes, and then he doesn't get around looking at it for 5 or 10 minutes.
I don't do it. I don't say yes. This is why you're talking to the seller and you're saying, you are in control of these showings. I'm depending upon you to stay in touch with us. Now,
so it's the seller's responsibility to say yes.
Yes.
That's not how I interpreted what you just said.
Okay. When whatever party accepts the showing, and however it is, if it's a phone call, it's one method. If it's an email, it's one method. If it's a text, you reply by putting a Y in, click send, indicating yes, I've confirmed the showing. Then the system sends out an email to all the participants again saying that it's been confirmed. So if an agent makes a request at 9 o'clock, and I've already had this conversation with the seller in pre-listing, I want you to accept these things, and neither husband or wife or whoever's doing it hasn't done it by 9:30, then I'm calling that agent and say, hey, did you see that showing request? Oh yeah, and I just hit yes, or no, I didn't see it, I got to check my phone. So you're involved, but you're letting them drive it, and they can even download the Showing Time app on their phone, which is like a portal. So if they forgot, okay, did I have a 2 o'clock or a 3 o'clock showing today? Well, you can go in there and do it. You can actually change the showing. You can cancel it. I don't know if it has the ability from the seller side to do it. It's probably more complex and they need to be involved with. But, we had one a couple months ago where they had a birthday party for one of the kids on Saturday from 2 to 4. So you can go in and block out times where agents can't even request a showing. They don't know why you can't request it, but you blocked it out.
If the seller has the app, can the seller see which other agents brought prospects by?
I think it just may reference their first name, I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it typically does not give all that.
So you don't have competition for relisting?
No.
Well, I mean, in vacant situations, I just took ownership of the communication because the homeowner wasn't there.
Yeah.
I felt like I just didn't want to burden them with,
We use it on vacant listings too, because it's good just accountability to see who's showing your listings.
Right.
Granted, when they go there and use the lockbox, you're going to get that report. And by the way, you can set in that Supra, another good thing to do is you can set, because it's two different things here. Listing, showing time, you're dealing with requests and confirmations that they have approval to show it. Beyond that, if they ever show up, you're never going to know. Right now, this system doesn't tell you that. When they do go out there and access that Supra key box, you get confirmation. They may not have got in, but at least they've opened it up and got the key, which is going to mean they probably went in. You can go in to that Supra website and configure it so that it sends you an email or a text that this lockbox was just accessed, and it tells you by who and a specific time. And I set all my listings up like that, so not only am I seeing the list request, but it also confirms when they went to show it, because list reports is not going to tell you whether or not they actually fulfilled the appointment. If they just never showed,
they were tardy early, or
yeah.
If you had a rogue agent that never basically used, the...
And I think they're tightening it up, but that list reports too has a home feedback, like a showing feedback feature to the agent that showed the property, but it never knows whether that showing ever occurred. And after you guys have had some listings, you'll find out that agents don't always fulfill their obligations to show a listing after they made the request.
Well, they drive up and the people in the car say,
right,
never even go inside.
And when you guys are with buyers and it does that, it may not be convenient at that second to do it, but at a minimum, when you drop your people off, preferably maybe the next house you go into and they're wandering around, call that agent. And actually, if you have the showing time app, you can do it right from the app.
Yeah, you can.
That you're canceling the showing, and I think you can give a reason why if you feel so inclined. But don't leave that, you'll find these sellers, they jump through hoops to get their houses ready. And to have it just gives a black eye to the agent community, because the home sellers where their house didn't get shown when there was an appointment involved, they blame the agent, not the buyer who decided their baby needed to go home and take a nap, or we're going to, whatever reason, we're late for the airport, we can't see this last house. So you need to reach out to them one way or another and let them know that you're not showing the house, or apologize for not making by at the very least. But getting back to the showing time, even if you have a vacant listing, I set this showing time up where the agent can schedule the showing from FMLS by clicking a button in the FMLS sheet. You can set a condition in that showing time where it auto confirms it. So you don't have to click yes or no. Once they request it, boom, they get the confirmation immediately. All right, going real quick here, homefeedback.com. I use that for feedback on showings. It's becoming less and less really a beneficial tool. We do have access to it, I believe, still through the office at a nominal or low cost per month. But it's basically one of those deals where after an agent has shown the property, it automatically syncs with your key box and sends out a questionnaire for the agent to give feedback on the showing.
That's exactly what the
Showing
e-box
time
says.
goes, yeah.
Well,
right? Because you can modify the questions you're sending out for the feedback request when you.
I've never had good success with that. I tried that for a while, and it comes up like while you're showing the request for feedback.
Oh, I set it up to 4 hours after.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to sit there and answer questions on feedback.
That's hard. Like when you show to buyers and then while you're driving, you get all of these requests.
Well, I found it to be super inefficient. I mean, so as I recently was shopping the last couple of weeks and stuff, I mean, you know, it was asking me for feedback and stuff, and then I went to the feedback and it was like, it was almost like I was talking Swahili. The next thing I know, they're like, you have an appointment tomorrow. I'm like, no, I just showed the property.
Right.
The feedback that you asked for. So it's automated for the most part, and I just don't find it to be super efficient. I just do direct communication with the agent is what I do.
And that's fine. Whatever system works for you. We still use this this homefeedback.com. It's actually owned by Showing Time now, so ultimately there's going to be changes.
Yeah, maybe don't like
but
it.
it's driven off the actual key box being pinged.
Right, got it.
And you can write your own questions.
Right.
And unlike, I think, the Supra version, if somebody shows the property and they're not, they didn't use the lockbox for whatever reason, you can input that showing into there and have it send out a feedback request. One of the features I've asked them for years and they haven't done it, I think now that they're getting bought, it's going to be they're going to revamp everything, is some kind of text feature where it sends a text out to the listing agent requesting that they answer the questions on feedback, because I think that would be huge. They won't do it.
It was frustrating, because we talked about this yesterday, the other day. It was frustrating because, you know, to your point, you're getting 3 different requests for feedback, plus you have the agent call you, and it's like, okay, do I fill the MLS, version out? Do I fill out Showtime, home feedback, and then the agent's calling? It's just like, okay, you got to select one.
Yeah, it's bad, it's tough, and like, I'm no put down on you millennials, but it used to be that agents were more respectful and they would provide the feedback. A lot of these ones, it's just ignored. And maybe it's going to spam, who knows, but email only. So, but it's very powerful when you have sellers, or when you have agents giving feedback versus you telling them. And it's, you share with a seller, this is like the unfiltered truth. This is what you're hearing. This is, I'm not sugarcoating anything. So you may get some pretty critical pieces of feedback here that are kind of tough. Just to keep it moving forward, List Hub is a paid service, but it can provide internet traffic reports. You got to pay like $20 a year. It is only respected to one of the FMLSs. We have both in here. Sometimes I've used that in the past. This Lux DT is also a paid. This is really cool though. I did this on one listing. This is for your luxury listings. I think it cost me $1,000, but it was pay at close, only if the property sold. And they put together a variety of different marketing resources, and a website like that other one I showed you that we like, that agent marketing. But this is pretty cool. This is one of the pieces that they produce. So it was fairly high in listing. I think it was like a $25,000 commission. So to spend $1,000 on something like this, I did it just to check it out and see how it worked. I don't know if I'd use it again or not, but that was pretty cool, that flyover with the Google Earth. You might be able to do that on your own if you knew how to do that. But it's just another resource. If you go to, and I'm kind of speaking quicker here because we're running out of time to cover a lot of stuff.
Did you provide access to the property for that, to them basically, or?
It's totally virtual.
What? Okay.
Those are my images that they took off FMLS, and this is, but everything else they did virtually. So this is, and they offer a variety of different marketing services, but if you have a high-end luxury listing, you can check into this, because not only did it do that, but it does website and tour. They do auto marketing, like not on the print, but on virtual advertising in the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, DuPont Registry, Robb Report. So these are things, if you're going into a listing, you have competition, you share some of these things. This is where we're going to advertise your property. It has international ads, over 90 international ads, and if you go to the link in there, it kind of shows you all these different websites. And I clicked into them, and they were being showcased in there. And it has some Facebook social media targeting, and also a listing presentation that comes along with it too. So once again, you got a luxury listing. This is just one other tool that you could potentially use to differentiate yourself. Agent Caravan. I don't do very many open houses, but especially here in Dunwoody where I have a good following, we'll do an agent caravan. We'll create a little flyer and embed it in an email. On this property, this was up and coming. I don't really have a following up there. So I sat there with a glass of wine a couple nights before, and I did a search for not the zip code, but I think area 112, whatever it is on that side of the FMLS area, and I searched listings like $150,000 on either side price point of my listing. So this one was priced at $737. So I did it from like 600 to 900 or something, and I pull up all those listings, actives, pendings, solds, and it kicked up like 120 listings, because I went back only a certain amount of time as far as closed listings, right? So I've got all these listings that are either actively competing with mine, or they're under contract, so they're partway to success being closed, or they sold in the recent past, and those agents, through some of the residual marketing, they have people calling them looking for houses, right? Mm-hmm. So I didn't know anybody up and coming, so I took, and you used to be able to copy like FMLS emails like right from their website. This was right after it went to Windows, so that's how far back it is. Now the only way to really do that is to click into the agent's name in each individual listing, and so this is how I do it. So
I can help you with that if you're interested.
Okay, I would like that. There's probably different ways to create some type of what are we talking here?
Database?
Compilation?
Well,
export a CSV file?
Yeah, but you can't. You got to physically go in and copy their email address. There's no way to pull up. There's no way to get a list of email addresses from property.
Keep going, I'll help you.
You know how to do it?
You need to show everybody.
Okay. Well, anyway, so the point is, I'm doing it. This is labor intensive. Mm-hmm. That's why the glass of wine's there. So I've got it set up at home where I've got two big monitors and my laptop sits in the middle. So I like working with multiple monitors. It makes life easier. I'll have Excel spreadsheet up on one. All these listings, I'll go in on the actives and I'll copy just the email address and I'll paste it into a column in this spreadsheet. I get to the pendings, and you can copy both the active and the agent who's representing the buyer. And when you get to the solds, you can do both, the agent, the listing agent, and the buyer's agent. And I don't even really worry about their names. I just copy their email addresses, do a sort search, and you'll find that a lot of them are repetitive, and you dedupe them so you only have one email for each address. And I send this out to them saying, hey, I know you either have an active listing or had one that is under contract or sold in the recent past nearby. Wanted to make you aware of this agent caravan I'm having. Would really appreciate if you would come by. And
or they had an open house and got 3 or 4 leads themselves.
Yeah, I mean that would be, for whatever reason. So you're basically targeting your email marketing to specific people that are pertinent. Now, if there's a way to automate that, which I don't think there is, but you show me and I would love to see that, that would be even better. And then I will call key people too, like in this neighborhood, Hedgewood Homes is a developer, and there's a couple of icon agents that it is really obvious from when I did that little exercise I just mentioned. And I'll send them the email, but I'll call them and invite them too. And the goal here is to get traffic. It's another, appeasement factor that you're sharing with your seller, something that you did.
So is this open house specifically for agents?
This is for agents.
Okay.
But whenever you do these, also, and you put it in FMLS, there's a way you can advertise these caravans and open houses in FMLS and GAMLS. That gets pushed out to Trilly and Zillow. Also do another one and make it open to the public, because if you're there, you might as well invite anybody who wants to come in. I used to have agent caravan riders. Now I just do open, because you want anybody to come. They don't have to be just agents, right? And we serve a little lunch usually. This one I did giveaway. We had bottles of wine and bottles of Italian soda. But sometimes we do a lunch, like from Wright's Gourmet here. And in Dunwich, we'll get like 20 people, anywhere from 20 to 30 people on a good day. But it's another thing that you're showing your seller that you did to work to get their home sold.
So how, so this is a concept that I always wondered why, if an agent has a customer that wants a home like this, why wouldn't they go put it on their like portal, or even go try to see it on their own? Why do, as a listing agent, why do you have to market to other agents? They should be searching for this kind of home.
You know,
no?
A lot of agents don't do it. There's mistakes in the way listings are input.
Okay.
You know, and it doesn't come up on their radar, on the search criteria.
You also identified, pending opportunities and sold opportunities.
Yeah.
So if someone sold a property in that territory, they're not necessarily potentially with an active buyer.
Right.
But if they're actively a buyer's agent, so to speak, then they may have clients that need to see it. Or you could potentially, with the open agent caravan, get somebody walking there and says, I'm in the market, I don't have representation. And he could, get it to his wife as the buyer agent,
Absolutely. So, we already talked about list reports. We already talked about the Supra. We talked a little about certain things about communications, and these are just some other helpful technology tools here. But one of the things that's not really on there that I wanted to discuss briefly is, and I've heard some agents where they actually have, like, I think one of our beloved agents who passed away, Scotchy Cochran, was in this office. He was notorious for his pads that had magnets on the back. But he would give it to a seller and say, write down your questions. We're going to have a call every Monday, and I'll answer your questions, and we'll cover a variety of other things. We're talking about weekly communication at minimum. Now, you do these feedback systems, it's going to be automatically pushing that information out. But like that house up in Vickery, that woman, I called her every Monday. One time I missed it because of some reason, and she told me when I called her the next day, I was talking to my husband yesterday, and he asked me if I got my Monday call from Bill, and I didn't. So, consistency. So she was expecting it. And what I would do before I called her is I would try to come up with some type of useful information that also helped me sell the house. So I would call 5 competing listing agents in the neighborhood and ask them how their traffic was and what was going on, what their thoughts were, and also promote my listing. And the results of that conversation, was very pertinent and interesting to that seller who I call on Monday. I'm like, I talked to, the person that has the house on 1212 Smith Lane, the listing agent, and she said she only had 1 showing. Fortunately, we've had 3, yada, yada. But you're delivering something that isn't just like, hey, how's it going? We're trying hard, market's slow or whatever. No offers. Maybe one will, talk about, you call other agents and get pertinent listing on the showings of their properties. There's a variety of, you can pull the under contract ones and contact those agents and say, hey, you could identify who the buyer's agent is. Is there a reason why you didn't show my listing? While your listing had master on the main, that was something they didn't want. So that would be like information I would report back to the seller. But if you have some specific information, data points, market intel that you can share with a seller when you make that weekly call, try to pick one thing that is of importance and share that with them on that particular day. Does that make sense? But you want to call them every week. Don't let it start sliding. All right, got 1 minute left. These other technology tools, real quick, just some things that I use in my day-to-day business. Some of them aren't real estate related per se, but I use Gmail and canned responses. Is everybody familiar with that?
Mm-hmm.
You can basically, if you have to retype something, you can, within Gmail, set it up so that it is a reoccurring email that you can go back and make minor edits or send it out the way it is, including the subject. It's just really helpful. I use Mighty Text. It's a texting tool from my Android where I can send text from my computer. I find that to be very helpful. Character count tool, this is a link to it. You know, you can do it within Word and some other places, but so many of the fields you're trying to populate in FMLS and other places are character specific, and you're trying to manage that. This is just a good tool. Dropbox, everybody's heard of that, right? Has anybody ever heard of Mega out of New Zealand? It's kind of similar to Dropbox, but they offer 50 gigabytes of free data in a web cloud-based platform. So I've got a pretty large Dropbox free file because when they first opened, I would do teachings like this, and people would join based on my invitation, and they gave me all kinds of free space. But it isn't enough, especially with all these high-end images and photography for my listings and other stuff. So I opened up a Mega account, and I segue my listings like within like 3 to 6 months after they close. I put them in a folder on that Mega under the year that I did the business. And I'm nowhere near to filling that up, but if I have to go back and get any of that information, it happens all the time. Somebody calls you like 5 years later, want to relist their house, I go back, that folder's there intact, has all the information when they bought it. It's just a beautiful thing. And it's free. So
Google Drive is not enough?
I use Google Drive too, but not for organizing and keeping all my documents. I mean, there's a lot of duplicity. There's some in .loop, but I try to keep a PDF version of everything on one of my cloud folders. The one thing I do like about Google Drive is whether it's a PDF or this document you're looking at right now, you can create that into a web page just by sharing it and changing the permissions to anybody can view it that has the link, and then you send them that link and they can access it. So if there's like a flyer, like a real estate flyer, you print it to a PDF, you upload it to your Google Drive, you create those share credentials and copy that link, and you can send it to them, and then you're not sending an attachment, but you're actually creating a web page that they can navigate to, right? Jing I use all the time. It's this little yellow icon, and it basically allows you to capture images that are screenshots. I think there's a free Windows version now. I think that works for Apple too. I'm just starting to use Zoom. Who's familiar with Zoom? Video conferencing? You know, I mean, if you can get on a video conference with a prospective client, they can see you and you can talk to them, how much more powerful is that than just talking on the phone or texting? I mean, it's not as good as being in front of them, sitting and having coffee. And Zoom is free. You know, you can't schedule future appointments, and there's a length, 40 minutes, but you can use it for free, and it's really a cool tool. Loom is my newest favorite. Has anybody heard of that?
No.
Loom is a extension for Chrome, and basically I just click that button up there on the top left, and I can create a video. Hello. You can do screen and cam. You can do the screen of your computer only or the camera only. But if I go to start recording and ask you what screen you want to capture, give you a couple seconds to get ready. We're going to make this, you make it bigger or smaller and move it around. But anyway, you can have your picture in there where it's taking it off your cam. But right now, it's recording everything that's on my screen. And as the way I've used it recently is I had a couple listings. I was in Matrix, and I wanted to share some particular information points. And I didn't feel like writing out a long narrative email. I went online. I navigated through it. They had a little picture of me, it was capturing my face, and
It was doing everything that you were
it
doing.
was, everything on the screen was being captured. And then it copies it, and there's no set timetable where you, I mean, you can make the video as long as you want. And it'll give you a link that you can send. This is a video that is not on your hard drive, it's on a cloud, on this Loom cloud, and you can email it or text it to a client. And short of being with them there or doing a Zoom where you're actually on a video conference call, something like this is a great way to communicate with somebody where they're seeing your face and hearing your voice. And in many cases, this could be easier than typing out a long email where you're trying to describe things that they can't see on the computer. So it's free for now, at least, and it's a Chrome extension. I don't know, they may have an Apple version too. Well, it's Chrome, so it would work on Apple too. But I think this is awesome. There's a ton of applications for that. So we are out of time. Let me just make sure we have no unfinished business here. Always under-promise and over-deliver. That's the customer experience. Remember that the relationship is bigger than the transaction. That's in the coursework here. A client is worth potentially 3 to 10 transactions in the future if you do a great job for them. Don't be so caught up on an individual commission. Always do what's right and service them, and it will pay off in spades. Okay, you're all going to do your calls. And is there any final questions or ahas from the coursework today?
Y'all learned a lot?
Yeah.
Got lots of ideas?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wealth of knowledge.
You were awesome at cramming a lot of information into a little bit of time.
Yeah.
Bill, of all the teachers, is the one that
He stays on
pushes
track.
it till the end and then goes over because he's
I like
got
it.
so much information.
Yeah, I
He
like it.
brings in outside info, which we appreciate.
Good.
All right. Well, very good, peeps. I expect big things from all of you. My name is my email, billhaas@kw.com. You can reach me from the front desk by calling Angel, but if you guys ever need anything, you're welcome to give me a call. I'm happy to try to help out any way I can. Anytime, just give me a call. If I don't answer, I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. And I appreciate it. Appreciate you guys' commitment to doing this course.
Exactly. I finally got the toolkit, so everybody grab one. Next class, which Diane and I are teaching, please bring your laptops if you have one. Please bring your laptops because we're all going to go into Dot Loop and make an offer.
Is it Dot Loop? Oh, the next Ignite class.
Monday.
Correct.
But
I got that conflict.
there is a follow-up class this afternoon if you guys feel like sitting on your butts for another couple hours.
They are our stay. They're no feel like.
Okay.
Yeah. Scott Hardy is behind door number 1 to launch your Playster website.
Excellent.
Will that be recorded as well? Good.
There's also a couple others already out there too. So if you don't like this one, you can watch one from 3 months ago.
Oh.
Yeah, I was in the one from.
Yeah, but I know you need to leave
Oh, well, that's
in
what
time
I
to
want.
pick up your
You're in it.
guy.
Yeah. Or maybe.
So y'all, you've
I think
got
that was
until 1:30. If you brought something to eat, there was great Greek Mediterranean food, but I don't know what's left. So I just don't want anybody to faint.
Is that because you bought it all? Is that
We have some back.
I did by myself until 1:30.
And this
Bill,
class
thank
is
you.
like lasting.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Bill.
But it really depends on how quickly the class is able to go. If everybody,
I'm always asking.
but
Making comments.
But it also depends on if you have some very technology challenged people, which I don't think we do.
Maybe cover it again. Which I already launched mine. So
You do not have with that.
Yeah. Okay. That's what I thought.
So,
And I need reviews from everybody.
Put them on my table.
Perfect.
place, or is that, do you think that might be the place like Stu's?
There's nothing, not finished, because there's no lab on a replacement. I mean, whatever they're exploring is, I would think 6 months, easily. So,
No.
yeah, I mean, he does think it's gonna be replaced, but he has no knowledge of anything, and they're kind of revealing all the evidence.